Our female protagonist was reincarnated into a romance novel, but unfortunately, instead of becoming a noble lady, she became a squirrel. To return to her human form, she must absorb enough magic within 50 days. Therefore, she approached Prince Johann, the strongest mage of the Highland family. According to the original story, he would later become a villain due to his stepmother's abuse. After interacting with Johann, she felt the warmth within him. Can the female protagonist change the plot with her love and care and prevent Johann from becoming a villain? Let's wait and see. One morning, in a luxurious and magnificent castle, a mother affectionately called out, "Tezen, this is your birthday present. Do you know what this is?" Tezen, seeing the little squirrel in the cage, was very excited. It looked so cute. "This can't be, it's a spirit beast." Ella smiled and replied, "That's right, you recognized it. I specifically brought it from the temple." Tezen was very surprised. "Really? I heard they're very expensive." His mother said gently, "For a son with such outstanding magical abilities, shouldn't I do this for you?" The squirrel glared at them uncomfortably. Tezen danced with joy. "This is the best present ever. I've been reincarnated into a romance novel as the mother of an 11-year-old villain." These things made the squirrel extremely confused. "I'm actually going to be his birthday present." The squirrel closed her eyes tightly and thought, "Even if I had to be reincarnated as any character, why did it have to be such a ridiculous one? What's worse, I might have to live out the rest of my life in this cage. This is the worst, truly the worst." In the blink of an eye, I became a squirrel called a spirit beast. I found myself in the Highland Duchy, a renowned mage family led by the strongest and most outstanding mage of this era. But their power comes at a price. The stronger the mage, the harder it is to control their overflowing magic power, which causes them immense pain. The only thing that can soothe that pain is a spirit beast. Possessing a spirit beast signifies possessing exceptionally remarkable magic power. Therefore, Duchess Ella of Highland stepped forward. She wanted to show off her son's boundless magic power to everyone, so she needed a spirit beast. The spirit beast sat in the corner pondering. Although his magic power isn't that outstanding, at most, it's only enough to scoop some water from a dry well. Ella extended her hand towards the spirit beast and instructed her son, "All right, take good care of it in your room, Tezen. I've already engraved the ownership mark on it, so it's impossible for it to escape the duchy. Come here." The obedient spirit beast quickly jumped onto Ella's hand. "See, it came from here, didn't it?" The spirit beast sat dumbfounded. "It's just that I didn't want to wallow in despair, so I played the role of a noble gift. Just this once." Seeing Tezen's hesitation, she was a bit curious. "Is there something wrong?" Tezen pouted and said, "Animals that can understand human speech are a bit scary, aren't they?" These words shocked the spirit beast. "What did he just say? Is he mocking me?" Ella explained, "It's not an ordinary animal. It's a spirit beast, I told you, dear. Besides, according to legend, after absorbing a large amount of magic, a spirit beast can even transform into a human." Tezen was still hesitant. "I think with my magic power, it shouldn't take long to achieve human form. But if it transforms into a human and can't understand speech, it'll be troublesome." He looked at the spirit beast with a cunning expression. "So, I finally have another slave I can order around, don't I?" The spirit beast, being treated as a slave, was stunned. She was furious. "How can you think of this when talking about human form? Besides, with your magic power, transforming into a human is impossible." Tezen snorted proudly. "Consider it your honor to meet me, servant." The spirit beast glared at him resentfully. "I want to knock that guy's head, but, oh God, these short arms are useless. This is the pain of this creature's life. Having to see this guy every day is driving me crazy. But in any case, staying in the Highland Manor might be beneficial to me, because in the highest room of the West Tower of the ducal residence lives the true villain of this novel, also the strongest mage of the Highland family, a truly extraordinary mage. If it's him, returning to human form might no longer be a dream." A sudden announcement caught the attention of both the spirit beast and Ella. "Madam, someone has come down from the tower." She thought, the tower. What happened? The butler standing outside reported, "No, it's nothing important. The young master has fainted again from a high fever, just like last time." The spirit beast listened intently to the situation. "Wait, if it's the young master in the tower." Ella muttered, "That guy again. Is he still alive?" Her words startled the spirit beast. The butler replied, "No, he just lost consciousness temporarily. There's no danger to his life." Ella nodded in satisfaction. "That's how it should be." Tezen said to the spirit beast, "My arms are sore. Get off quickly." Ella bluntly ordered the butler, Let him rest. Make sure no meals are prepared for him today. He quickly obeyed. Understood. I'll see to it right away. Meanwhile, the spirit beast jumped off the table. She stood at a distance, secretly observing their conversation. Ella placed a hand on her son's shoulder. I'll be going now. Trey-san. He wished his mother a safe journey in return. The spirit beast was taken aback by Ella's blatant favoritism. What? Even if he's adopted, how can she treat a child like that? It's heartless. It seems like this isn't uncommon for him, but his situation is worse than I thought. Maybe I should bring him something later. Seriously, this story is messed up. At least feed the kid. Trayson called out wearily, Hey, slave, entertain me. Seeing herself regarded so lowly, the spirit beast burned with anger. What? Slave? If you were me, would you do this? Seeing the spirit beast standing motionless, Trayson hesitated. Does it not understand what I'm saying? This brat, judging by the way he treats his servants, he's definitely going to beat me. I should avoid getting involved with him as much as possible before things get worse. Trayson poked the spirit beast. Hey, slave, didn't you hear me? Are you asleep? He clicked his tongue in displeasure. How boring. It seems like it's just an animal that knows how to eat and sleep. The spirit beast retorted internally, I used to be human, you idiot. No matter what, I'm going to become human again. Late into the night, the spirit beast languidly sat up. It's time to move. She glanced over at the sleeping Trayson. Sweet dreams, you troublesome thing. Checking the supplies. The spirit beast took out some of her own food and put it in a pouch, dragging it with effort. In the blink of an eye, she successfully escaped the room. The spirit beast moved with light steps, navigating the dangerous terrain. Over the towering walls, is this the perk of being a squirrel? After some searching, the spirit beast arrived at her destination. This is it. Through the window, she saw a young man struggling in pain, his face covered in sweat. Suddenly, he noticed something and turned his head towards the window, his expression blank. A squirrel. The spirit beast outside smiled and waved at him. Johann Ehlert stared blankly for a few seconds, then slowly approached the window. What's a little squirrel doing here? The spirit beast kept gesturing to him. Johann Ehlert quickly understood. Are you trying to tell me something? Hold on. With that, he opened the window latch. The spirit beast, eagerly awaiting the moment she could help Johann Ehlert, realized something was wrong. The opening window pushed her backward. Wait. The spirit beast began to wobble, losing her footing. Thinking her life was about to end so absurdly, she cried out, No way. I haven't even mastered basic magic, let alone turned back into a human. Save the squirrel. Fortunately, Johann Ehlert reached out and caught her just in time. Flustered, he apologized. Are you all right? The spirit beast let out a long sigh, calming down after returning from the brink of death. Her whole body was still trembling in fear. I'm alive. But this intimate feeling, is it because of Johann's mana? Just a light touch, and I can feel such a terrifyingly powerful force. The young man asked the spirit beast with concern, Are you hurt anywhere? She looked up at Johann Ehlert with sympathetic eyes. His mana stream is running rampant. How painful it must be. I have to calm it down quickly. She tried to reach forward with her small arms, then closed her eyes tightly, feeling the moment. Johann's mana stream continued to emanate from within him. The young man gradually felt it too. The mana is stabilizing. It doesn't hurt anymore. And so, the two enjoyed this healing moment without saying a word to each other. After a while, Johann spoke. You're a spirit beast. The girl nodded in confirmation. Johann was a little curious. With the Ehlert mark, you must belong to Trayson. He realized and laughed innocently. Ah, you can't talk, can you? I'm so silly. The spirit beast stood quietly, lost in thought. Is it because he's still a child? As a villain, he seems a bit naive, maybe even a little cute. The most evil villain in this novel, Johann Ehlert. When Johann was a child, his mother, the former Duchess, passed away. Duke Hyland remarried Ella, bringing Trayson into the family. Not long after, the Duke was called to war, abandoning Johann at a young age when he still needed care. To make matters worse, at the age of 10, his powers awakened, bringing unbearable pain. Ella, wanting Trayson to be the heir, seeing the situation take a turn for the worse, pretended Johann was ill and imprisoned him in a tower. Living in pain and isolation, Johann was eventually sent to the battlefield. As part of Ella's plan, 5 years from now, Johann will return triumphantly as a hero, ending the brutal war. And Johann's return marks the beginning of the tragedy. Miss Muriel, the most beautiful woman in the Empire, was given to Johann as a reward for his heroism in war. Johann fell in love with the heroine at first sight, longing for her love, but her heart already belonged to the prince. He couldn't win her heart, and that was the beginning of the tragedy. Driven by jealousy, Johann eventually turned into a villain who couldn't tolerate anything, using every possible means to separate them. The spirit beast wore a puzzled expression, thinking, how could such a gentle and kind boy become the most evil villain in the story? I can't believe it. Johann sat with his hands clasped tightly and suddenly uttered the word, sorry. It feels so good to pet you like this, so can I pet you a little longer? The spirit beast was quite surprised, seeing that unlike some people, he was so sweet. Johann continued shyly, will you allow me? Thank you. He gently stroked the spirit beast's head, gazing at her affectionately. Johann didn't hesitate to pour out his heart to the spirit beast. I've been alone in this place for a long time, and I think this is the first time that someone has stayed with me for so long while I'm in pain. Just now, I was in so much pain and so lonely. I kept thinking how nice it would be if I had never been born, or if I could have been born an ordinary person, until you appeared. Johann's life seemed to be dyed pink and filled with vitality. Thank you. This is the first time I no longer feel pain and loneliness. Thank you so much. A bright smile gradually appeared on Johann's handsome face. His smile was like the dazzling sunlight, shining directly into the spirit beast's eyes. Why does this face make me want to protect him? I was just planning to quickly absorb magic power and then become human. That's all I was thinking about. Johann shyly asked, so, can you come tomorrow? You don't have to come to comfort me. Just playing with me or coming to see me is enough. Those sincere words moved the spirit beast to tears. Of course, I was planning to come here anyway. I'll come every day. After receiving the spirit beast's consent, Johann smiled happily. Thank you. She smiled and thought, in this short time, I can feel gentleness and kindness from this boy. Perhaps the reason Johann becomes someone who unscrupulously hurts others is because he has endured pain and loneliness for too long. But if someone gave him love and care, wouldn't he not become a villain in the future? I don't know how much I can help as just a squirrel, but since I'm here, I have to try my best. I will protect this innocence and vulnerability. Saying this, the spirit beast took out a chestnut and offered it to Johann. He asked in confusion, is this for me? The spirit beast slowly moved forward and then sat in Johann's hand. Thank you. I'll treasure it. Starting tomorrow night, I'll leave the window open for you, so you can come whenever you want. The spirit beast swayed her body with joy. So cute. See you tomorrow. Saying that, she quickly climbed down to the ground. Johann quietly stood there observing. He lightly tapped his fingers on the table, lost in thought. I was in so much pain just a minute ago. Is this the spirit beast's soothing power? A spirit beast that belongs to Thessan. I think I have to get my hands on it. One bright morning in the castle, the spirit beast was fast asleep on a soft mattress while Thessan was diligently reading. A spirit beast capable of transforming into a human form is therefore given titles related to humans. Female and male are used for animals. Woman and man are used for humans. For example, when referring to gender, you don't say female or male, but woman or man. You can tell the gender of a spirit beast by the shape of its tail. Is that so? Let me check your gender, slave. Thessan roughly grabbed the spirit beast's tail. She could only struggle in panic. What's going on? What happened while I was asleep? My tail is about to break. Let go. Thessan observed as he read. Judging by the pattern, you're a woman. No, a female. The spirit beast was completely dumbfounded. Really? Thessan stared at the spirit beast and asked, so that means you'll become a girl later. How old are you now? She could only answer sternly in her mind. How would I know? You idiot. Thessan placed her on the table and said, I hope you're older than me, so you'll know better how to help me. If you're too young, you won't understand what people are saying, and that's too much trouble. The spirit beast grew to dislike Thessan more and more. Seriously, once I successfully become human, my relationship with you is over, you know. I'll tell Johann to raise Highland to the ground and then leave this place immediately. Johann, he's a gentle and kind child. Because I will help him, he won't refuse my request. So when I become human, everything will fall into place. Lost in her daydream, the spirit beast cried in the face of the harsh reality. Becoming human. How am I supposed to do that? I can't live long on just these nuts. I don't know the specific conditions for becoming human, but if I continue to absorb Johann's magic, maybe I can find some clues. The spirit beast lay sullenly on the mattress. I really want to turn human right now. I want to get away from that jerk, Thessan. That night, Johann sat under the moonlight, looking at the chestnuts the spirit beast had given him. He sat motionless for hours, the happy image of the spirit beast flashing through his mind. That squirrel, isn't she coming today? He cherished the chestnuts in his hand, thinking, I should have pretended to be weaker. Suddenly, a strange sound caught his attention. The spirit beast's small hand reached out from the balcony. In an instant, she eagerly climbed up, hopping incessantly to greet Johann as soon as she saw him. He smiled happily, watching the spirit beast, then greeted her warmly. Hello, spirit beast. You came again today. The spirit beast looked at Johann with sparkling eyes. Hello, you look lovely today. Johann suddenly held out his hand to the spirit beast. He asked gently, is it dangerous coming here? It must be hard climbing over those rough stone walls. Stay here, okay? Johann placed the spirit beast on the bed. I want you to be as comfortable as possible, but in this place, the bed is the most suitable. Johann's warm actions touched the spirit beast. How could he be so kind? She patted the pillow hard with her hand, as if signaling to him, lie down here quickly, and in return, I'll provide top-notch service. Johann understood and immediately replied, I don't mind. But the spirit beast insisted he lie down. Patience should come first. Lie down quickly. Johann obediently complete. All right, I'll lie down. You're so kind. After he lay down, she gently touched his forehead. Meanwhile, Johann happily confided, I wanted to repay you for the acorns, so I thought of a name for you. Do you want to hear it? The spirit beast froze in surprise, thinking, I don't have a name yet. Tessin calls me slave every day, driving me crazy. But now, this beautiful person will only choose beautiful words to speak. Johann asked seriously again, do you allow me? After receiving the spirit beast's consent, he said happily, how about Paul? The name was like a bucket of cold water thrown on the spirit beast's face. Seeing her expression, Johann could only laugh awkwardly. You don't like it. He rattled off a string of other names like Tom, Caravan, or Dave, but none of them suited the spirit beast. What kind of naming sense is this? Johann became worried. So you don't like any of them? What should I do? Those are all the names I could think of. After hearing this, the spirit beast was also startled and fell over. For the sake of your cuteness, I'll let you off this time. Think of a cuter name next time. Okay. Johann cried out in anguish. Okay, I'll think about it again. But the spirit beast was more concerned with something else. It had been a while since she started to stabilize, but his magic was still flowing. Maybe because I've experienced it once, I'm absorbing more magic power than yesterday. It feels like if this continues, it will overflow. Let's stop here for today. She slowly withdrew her hand. Johann had unknowingly fallen asleep. The spirit beast breathed a sigh of relief. Successfully absorbed magic power again today. Suddenly, she felt a strange change in her body. A dazzling light shone directly on the spirit beast. Wait, why is this happening when I've stopped absorbing? Hold on tight. The spirit beast's small arms transformed into soft hands, and long, smooth hair unexpectedly appeared. Could this be? Johann woke up groggily. When he saw the scene before him, his eyes widened in shock, and he immediately sat up. Unexpectedly, the spirit beast had transformed from a small squirrel into a beautiful girl. Johann said in a panic, "Who are you?" Faced with this predicament, the spirit beast didn't know how to explain. She was even more surprised. My voice. I can talk. When I saw my hands, I was so surprised. I'm human now. It sounded like a child with small hands. Unbelievable. Johann grabbed his blanket and finally covered the spirit beast with it. He shyly turned his face away. Quickly cover her up. The spirit beast smiled awkwardly and replied, "Thank you." Johann couldn't believe his eyes. What happened? The girl blushed and explained, spirit beasts can transform into humans. As soon as she finished speaking, she immediately transformed back into her squirrel form to show Johann. An unexpected thing happened, leaving the spirit beast extremely frustrated. Back in Tessin's room, he was still diligently reading the book about spirit beasts. Spirit beasts that absorb a large amount of mana in a short period can temporarily transform into human form. However, this is only temporary. To achieve a complete transformation, they must continuously absorb mana for 50 days. If they turn human before the 50 days are over, the spirit beast strained her ears to listen. It says all the mana they accumulate will disappear. Hearing this, the spirit beast thrashed in frustration. You should have read that part earlier. I already went through that. Tessin scratched his head in bewilderment. Annoying. Does it really need 50 days? Slave, you have to count the days carefully from now on. 50 days, got it. 50 days. The spirit beast put on a determined look. Alright, now tell me how to absorb mana properly. Tezin continued to read more information while she took out a pen and paper to meticulously take notes. When you feel like you've absorbed too much mana, don't stop. Continue absorbing to preserve the mana you've already absorbed. The spirit beast suddenly remembered. So I should have continued absorbing yesterday instead of stopping. Great, I understand now. I'll definitely do that next time. Tezin boasted smugly. Hey, slave, you're really lucky. Mages who can turn a spirit beast into a human are really rare, and that rare mage is your master. The spirit beast turned away with a disgruntled look. Are you done? 50 days. If I absorb Yoan's mana every day for 50 days, I can become human. Yoan should also know this information. It would make cooperating easier. Is there any way to let him know? As the spirit beast looked at the book, an idea flashed through her mind. That's it. That night, Johan stared at her wide-eyed. Little squirrel, what is this? After receiving the piece of paper handed over by the spirit beast, he secretly guessed. A letter. This is a page from the book, but why are you giving this to me? The spirit beast began to communicate with Johan using body language. For me and you, we can't communicate. At first, he was confused. What are you trying to tell me? The spirit beast tried to describe as simply as possible. Johan hesitantly guessed. You, spirit beast, you read the book. It seemed the two were gradually getting on the same wavelength. When he saw the spirit beast point to the symbol on Johan's body, he quickly guessed that she was referring to Halen. She nodded, confirming Johan's words. Then she tried to imitate Tezin's fierce expression. Finally, Johan understood the spirit beast's meaning. So you mean I should use Tezin's book to understand spirit beasts? Seeing the spirit beast jump onto his shoulder, Johan asked worriedly, "What's wrong?" She kept praising him. As expected, he was smart and understood body language well. She gently rubbed against Johan's flushed cheek. He laughed happily. "Are you praising me? That tickles." Then Johan looked at the piece of paper in his hand and understood the truth about the spirit beast. So if you absorb mana for 50 days, you can become human. Johan thought to himself. Then after 50 days, I can see that form again. He unconsciously blurted out, "How cute." When he remembered the spirit beast sitting next to him, Johan was startled. Nothing at all. Just like that, he kept giggling to himself. What the hell? There's something wrong with this book. He immediately picked up the book and questioned the spirit beast. "Hey, slave, do you know about this?" She nonchalantly muttered to herself. "Ask me 100 times if you want. Do you think I'll answer?" Tezin started to question his life. What's going on? Did my mana go out of control while I was sleeping? Life with power is really complicated. I can't even get a good night's sleep. Tezin rummaged through his room. I can't find it anywhere. Where did it fly off to? The spirit beast remained motionless and silent, completely indifferent. "Are you enjoying your one-man show?" Tezin kept complaining. "This is driving me crazy. Just how strong does my power need to be?" The spirit beast could only sigh helplessly. "I've heard that so many times, it's like a lullaby now." Raindrops fell, pitter-patter against the window. The rain grew heavier. Tezin turned his head, a delighted expression spreading across his face. "It's raining." He immediately grabbed the spirit beast. "Hey, slave, stop sleeping, come here. I'll show you something interesting." The spirit beast was a bit puzzled. Why was he so excited about the rain? She put on a very displeased expression, glaring at Tezin. Based on his preferences, it definitely couldn't be anything good. When she saw Johan walking alone in the cold rain, the spirit beast's expression seemed to change completely, while Tezin gloatingly witnessed the scene. "Look, it's raining. That patient will start taking walks." The spirit beast was very worried about Johan's health. On the contrary, Tezin showed no humanity at all. "He doesn't look too happy." The doctor said, "Letting him get rained on would be good, since the patient has a high fever. It's obviously the perfect treatment." The spirit beast felt indignant for Johan. What kind of treatment is that? A child suffers because of his own magic, and they treat him with such a cruel method. Everyone's crazy. No wonder they're so twisted. She couldn't help but worry. What should I do now? His face looks so pale. If this continues, I'm afraid things will only get worse. Is there any way I can help? Suddenly, Fessan threw the spirit beast aside and ran off happily. Great, now I can go help that poor brother of mine get better. She's turned into a spiteful squirrel. Help him get better. You'll only cause him more pain. If Fessan goes down there, things will only get worse. I have to help him quickly I don't know how much I'll need, so I'll take as much as possible. Little one, stuff your cheeks with all the food you can carry. The spirit beast diligently stuffed its cheeks with all the food it could carry, and then immediately ran to the window. Yuen, wait, I'm coming to save you. Inside the castle, Ella was also secretly observing everything. She asked the doctor, no matter how I look at it, that child seems healthier than usual. Is this treatment really effective? The doctor lowered his head and replied, I apologize, but his condition has indeed improved these past few days. However, you needn't worry. Lowering his body temperature is a special measure for witches. Because it will rain all night, the treatment will take a little longer than usual. He'll be back to normal soon. Ella gently praised, Indeed, you are an excellent doctor. I trust you will continue to take good care of Yuen. You may leave. The doctor respectfully replied, Yes, madam. Ella's expression turned cryptic. Yuen Highland, you are a thorn in my side. When I learned that you were born with magical powers, my blood ran cold. I almost wanted to get rid of you immediately. I've only let you live these past years to prevent any news related to the Duke's heir's death from spreading. Now, because of the war oath, I can't get rid of you. The war oath, when war drags on, weakening the empire's power, it's a measure the emperor takes to prevent the nobility from gaining influence. The heads of noble families are forced to participate in the war. If they are killed in battle, another member of the family must take their place. I can't send Thessan to such a dreadful place, so I have no choice but to keep you alive to replace him when the war ends. She silently thanked Yuhin. Thanks to you, I can cling to this meaningless life. The maid pulled Yuhin's hand, dragging him along quickly. He said in a weak voice, Wait, please slow down. She could only explain, We have a long way to go, and it will be troublesome if we're too slow. Please cooperate with the doctor's method. Young master. So, Yuhin dragged his heavy feet through the rain. The spirit beast watched from a nearby branch, thinking, It seems the situation is more serious than I thought. He looks so pained, yet no one has any sympathy for him. She took out all the food she had brought and said resolutely, It's all right, Yuhin. In the original story, you may not have had any allies, but now, the spirit beast gripped the chestnuts tightly, getting into position. I'll fight alongside you. As soon as she finished speaking, she threw the chestnuts at the maids with all her might. The flying chestnuts struck them, causing them pain. The spirit beast's throws were incredibly accurate. Not a single one missed. The two maids clutched their faces in pain. My eyes. Seeing the acorns rolling on the ground, Yuhin was a little surprised. He bent down, picked one up, and looked at it. An acorn. This can only be. Yuhin looked around. Seeing the spirit beast's body language, he guessed, Don't just stand there. Run. Is that what you mean? Now's the perfect chance to escape. Seeing Yuhin leave, the two maids shouted, Young master, where are you going? Come back. He ignored their cries and ran forward with all his might. Seeing Yuhin safely back in his room, the spirit beast breathed a sigh of relief at the glorious victory. A perfect hit. I'm so amazing. I didn't know I had this kind of talent. Now that Yuhin is safely back in the tower, I should go back, right? Thessan's sudden voice startled her. Wait, where did he go? The water I worked so hard to get. The two maids could only lower their heads and apologize. I was momentarily distracted, and he ran back to the tower. Thessan clenched his fists and said angrily, What I mean is, why did you let him run away? With that, he splashed the water on the two maids. These things. Ella came out to calm Thessan's anger. Stop it. He immediately turned his head and cried, Mother. But such a rare opportunity for entertainment was ruined by these people. Ella gently reminded him, It was just entertainment. Thessan, you want to cure your brother, don't you? Thessan immediately understood. Yes, I want to help him get more treatment. His mother smiled with satisfaction. Good, I understand. But don't be too disappointed if you can't see your brother today. Tomorrow, when our distinguished guest arrives, I'll call Yuhin out. That will be more. Isn't it exciting to greet the guests with your brother tomorrow? Teslin's face brightened considerably. If it's tomorrow, are you referring to Duchess Midist and that young lady? Hearing about the young lady, the spirit beast was even more shocked. Yoan had met the female lead. The spirit beast was completely panicked by this news. Holding its pale face, the spirit beast recalled, according to the original story, Marie wasn't supposed to appear until after the war. Perhaps something went wrong because I helped Yoan today. They're definitely planning to humiliate him tomorrow, since today's plan didn't go through. They'll bring him out and compare him to Teslan, utterly shaming him. How cruel. At that moment, downstairs, Ella instructed her son, All right, Teslan, show off your magical talent well tomorrow, and bring that spirit beast too. The spirit beasts first stood on end. They're bringing me too. In the evening, Johann finally had a moment of peace. He slightly opened the window, breathing wearily. Maybe it's because I was forced to get rain on, but why do I feel so strange? The little squirrel will make me feel better, so I just need to endure it a little longer. Johann's eyes were filled with exhaustion, but then he suddenly snapped out of it. He looked down at the acorn in his palm. At first, I thought about actually utilizing it. If I could stabilize my magic with the spirit beast and use that power again, I could finally overthrow this wretched dukedom. But when he realized the little squirrel needed his magic to become human, I felt a sense of relief. As long as our interests align, the little squirrel will always come back to me. That's how I always convince myself. With the little squirrel, we're just using each other. That afternoon, the spirit beast had saved Johann. Seeing it screeching in the tree had surprised him a little. I always remind myself of this. Just then, golden paws appeared in Johann's line of sight, but it always comes to help me first. The little squirrel jumped onto Johann's shoulder. I came today. Thank you so much. Thanks to you, I got rain on less. I feel at my body. Johann coughed a few times, worrying the spirit beast. It made some noises. Although he couldn't understand them, Johann knew the little squirrel was worried about him. It's okay. Is this the first time in my life I can trust someone? Can I call someone my only ally? After a while, the little squirrel sat upright, quietly watching Johann rest. His magic had stabilized, but the fever, as if being sick wasn't bad enough. He would be humiliated in front of outsiders tomorrow. Johann, appearing in this state before everyone, would basically be a declaration that Highland's eldest son was unworthy of inheritance. As always, everything was still going Ella's way. Teslin's position would be, and I'll have to witness this disaster tomorrow. The spirit beast shook its head in disgust. That idiot Teslon. As if today wasn't annoying enough, I can't stand it. He even put on a face mask to impress Marie. Just thinking about it is outrageous. Should I leave footprints on his face while he's sleeping? His face will be oily and shiny, so the footprints will be really noticeable. The spirit beast was amused by the thought of Teslon screaming like he'd been slaughtered. Perfect. It's time to strike and stamp these footprints all over Teslin's face. The spirit beast excitedly stood up. Johann immediately asked, "Are you leaving? You just got here." Looking at that pitiful face, the spirit beast felt like it had committed a terrible sin. It's all for your own good. Johann continued to put on that pathetic look. The spirit beast couldn't carry out that evil plan anymore. It ran back to Johann's hand. It seems there's no helping it. Tomorrow won't be a good day, so I should at least comfort him before I leave. The spirit beast rubbed its paws together, gesturing. "Do you want me to open your hands?" Then it lay on its back. What does this mean? It pointed to its belly. What are you waiting for? Try it. You'll feel better. You want me to rub your belly? Johann did as the spirit beast asked. It really was warm and comfortable. Little squirrel, I feel the same way. The spirit beast spread its limbs for Johann to rub its belly. I wish you could stay with me forever, my squirrel. When a spirit beast bonds with a mage, the mage develops a strong possessiveness over the spirit beast. In special cases, they can't even stand their spirit beast being with another mage, becoming overwhelmed with jealousy. Early the next morning, the voice was heard before the figure was seen. "Slave, did you dress up prettier today?" The spirit beast had been scrubbed clean from head to toe by the maids this morning and had a tacky ribbon tied around its neck. It glanced at its foolish master. "You're dressed too extravagantly as well." Teslon walked inside with the spirit beast. "All right, let's go now. Sorry I'm late. I was delayed by the spirit beast's appeasement ritual. The magic within me was giving me a headache." The spirit beast gave a look of disdain. "Such a liar. Appeasement my foot." Suddenly, a heavenly, dazzling light shone directly on the squirrel. "What kind of light is that, Mary? It's so wonderful. She truly is the most beautiful girl in the world. I wonder how Johann will react. She's so beautiful. Maybe he'll fall in love with her at first sight. What's going on? Why is he looking at me like that?" A spirit beast? It's my first time seeing one. I heard they're extremely rare, so it's hard to obtain one. Mary was very interested in the squirrel, and Duchess Midist added that to have enough magic power, a spirit beast is necessary. Duke Highland seems to be the same. Fessan is delighted, but outwardly remains calm. I'm still far behind him, but it's difficult without a spirit beast. The squirrel got goosebumps. If he were raised as a con artist, he'd definitely succeed. Seeing the cotton ball move, Mary asked excitedly, "So, how does a spirit beast awaken?" "I heard it's through contact." "Is every spirit beast different?" Fessan suddenly pressed down on the squirrel's head, and it cried out in pain. Hearing the scream, Johan's eyes filled with murderous intent. My spirit beast put its hand on my forehead like this. Fess-san kept pressing on the squirrel, making the spirit beast angry. This guy, why is he pressing on someone else's head like that? Fess-san kept bragging. When I received the awakening, the pain disappeared, and it felt much better soon after. The squirrel noticed something else. Why do I feel vibrations coming from somewhere? Johan is sitting over there, emanating a dark aura, his face grim. He dropped his glass, shattering it. The sound caught everyone's attention. Ella spoke. Johan, you've suffered a lot before. You must have worked very hard. So, on such an important occasion, you must stay calm. The squirrel looked at Johan's expression, puzzled. That's strange. I just helped him stabilize his magic power yesterday. Why is it so strong today? Could it be an after effect of the rain? I need to check on him. The spirit beast wanted to run towards Johan, but stepped in a puddle of water, lost its balance, and fell. I'm going to fall. What an embarrassing brown squirrel. But luckily, the squirrel fell into Johan's palm. He gently comforted it. You should be careful. You almost fell. You shouldn't run around like that. It'll be dangerous if I'm not around. I won't be able to protect you. Hearing those earnest words, the squirrel was stunned. Why is he saying this? Thank you, Johan. Fesson spoke up, stepping forward and demanding, so, can you give it back to me now? My squirrel. Those three emphasized words made Johan even more uncomfortable. You said my squirrel, so Fesson, what's this squirrel's name? Fesson hesitated, caught off guard by the question. What? Why are you curious about that? Johan, unfazed, continued. This is a precious divine spirit beast. You can't just call it mine or yours, but seeing your reaction. I'm guessing you haven't given it a proper name yet. Hitting a nerve, Fesson shrieked what? Its name is Slave. He usually called the squirrel Slave. So now he stammered. I was thinking about a name. All right. The squirrel felt disgusted. You're really trying hard. Commendable. Johan scoffed, then, do you need my help? Fesson screamed, how dare someone like you give a name? Caught in the middle, the squirrel could only hold its head. This is driving me crazy. At this crucial moment, Mary spoke, excuse me, can I name it? It's so cute. Fesson was also surprised, but accepted. I believe this squirrel would be honored if you could name it. The squirrel, having escaped a disaster, quickly ran to the beautiful girl. Thank goodness, Mary, perfect timing to change the atmosphere. Mary was delighted to see the squirrel. Oh my little squirrel, I'll give you a very nice name. Your fluffy tail is so cute, and your black eyes are so beautiful. Being praised, the squirrel's nostrils flared like bowls. So beautiful. How about Blakely? The squirrel wanted to throw up. Such a cheesy name, but everyone loved the name. That lovely name, her naming sense is truly impressive. I believe it will love the name Blakely. The squirrel pouted. No, I don't like it. Mary tied something onto the squirrel's foot. Blakely, it was nice meeting you today. What's this? I just felt some magic power. Mary said there. This is my gift to you. It really suits you. The squirrel lifted its foot to admire it. Is this gold? Thank you, gold is the best. Then, Fesson called the spirit beast back. Hey, oh no, Blakely, come here. You have to go to your master. The squirrel clearly didn't like this and showed it. However, it turned to look at Johan. If I throw a tantrum here, Fesson might take it out on me later. So the squirrel went to Fesson. Good, what a good squirrel. Blakely listens to its master very well. So smart. I guess that's why it helped me awaken and continues to connect with me. Johan was disappointed that he didn't get the squirrel. In another scene, a voice said, as I thought, I can't let that spirit beast go. High Priest Ribena called out their name, and you heard it too. We must get that squirrel back from the Highland Dukedom. Ribena immediately replied, yes, the experiment we're conducting desperately needs that spirit beast. The high priest asked doubtfully, does it have to be that specific squirrel? Wouldn't other spirit beasts work? Ribena said coldly, none provide such clear experimental results as that squirrel. Furthermore, we're talking about the Highlands. If that spirit beast transforms into a human using the Highland family's magic, it will remember what happened in the laboratory, and I'll be in trouble. The high priest sighed, you don't have to worry about that. In exchange for the Duchess's generous donation, I thoroughly investigated before selling that spirit beast. The Highland's second son has absolutely no magic. The eldest son is locked in the tower due to his illness, so there's no way he could have met the spirit beast. Hearing this, Ribena fell into deep thought. The temple always sells spirit beasts to noble families without strong magic. The evolution of spirit beasts must be prevented at all costs. It certainly won't take long this time, she persuaded again. But I'm still uneasy. I can't rule out the possibility that the eldest son possesses strong magic, or that the spirit beast is compatible with the second son. Most importantly, it doesn't change the fact that we need that squirrel for the experiment. For the sake of the experiment, please bring it back as soon as possible. The high priest had no choice but to give in. What troublesome thing is she talking about this time? She's so stubborn. All right, I understand. I'll find a way to get that spirit beast back as soon as possible. After the banquet, Johann returned to his room. He noticed a figure outside the door. Are you there? The little squirrel shyly poked its head in. You don't have to knock every time, because I'm always waiting for you. The little squirrel blushed shyly. This child, his face is glowing. It's been over 40 days since he started absorbing magic, and his skin is noticeably different from before. Since when did he start giving off this new scent? Seeing the little squirrel staring at him, Johann asked, "Why are you looking at me like that?" Startled, the little squirrel flinched. "It's nothing. From now on, you should grow up healthy and strong." Johann sat on the bed, holding the little squirrel. The little squirrel reached out. "I'll explain soon. Give me your forehead. Hold on tight." Johann gently held the little squirrel. "Let's take it slow today. You have to leave after you're done, right? Could you stay with me a little longer?" Those sparkling eyes put even more pressure on the spirit beast. At times like these, he really does look like a child. It had no choice but to give in. "All right." Johann smiled immediately. "You promised, right?" "Thank you." The little squirrel climbed onto Johann's shoulder and happily played with his hair. "Are you having fun playing with my hair?" The spirit beast felt very comfortable, soft, and at ease. Johann then noticed the gold thread Duchess Mediste had given to the little squirrel. The little squirrel was still wearing it. "I'm really happy to see you today, Blakely." Remembering the name, Johann forced a smile. He gently placed the little squirrel on the bed. "About your name, I think calling you Blakely is really boring. Your eyes aren't black at all." The little squirrel was shocked. "Huh, really?" Johann described, "You have beautiful pink eyes. So for now on, I'll call you Momo. How about it? Do you like it?" Hearing the name, the little squirrel froze. "No, your naming sense is terrible. But if I didn't mind being called Blakely, wouldn't it be too picky of me to refuse being called Momo?" So the little squirrel reluctantly accepted being called Momo. "Thank you." Johann was overjoyed to see this. "Right? You think the name suits me, don't you? So cute, adorable, and pure." The little squirrel felt a warmth spread through it. "Even if you like me that much, you don't have to say things like that to compliment me." "Yes, fine. You came up with the best name ever. You know, Momo." Johann stroked the little squirrel's head. "Do you think our meeting was destined? Somehow, I feel like our encounter wasn't just coincidence." Faced with these words, Momo also fell silent. "It certainly wasn't a coincidence, because I came to him for a specific purpose." Suddenly, Johann pressed down on Momo's head. It immediately showed its displeasure. Johann gently soothed, "I'm sorry, but you're just too cute. And the way you try to protect me with that soft, tiny body makes me realize how precious you are to me. So Momo, I'll give you more gold, the best room, everything you want. I'll make you happier than you were with Turson. From now on, I'll protect you." A string of sincere words. Momo felt sorry for Johann. "Fool, you'll be dragged off to the battlefield soon, and you'll be given the sedative developed by the temple. Drinking it will suppress your magic. By then, you might not need me anymore. But until that day comes, for the time we have together, I'll do everything I can." Early in the morning, a noisy commotion came from Johann's side. "Isn't that the temple's carriage? Isn't that the carriage the temple messengers always use? Who's coming this early? I heard a priest was visiting. High Priest Pat is here to see Ella." "Your Excellency, what is the meaning of this?" Pat leisurely took a sip of tea and replied, "As you've heard, I've confirmed that the divine beast bestowed upon Taysan does not have the ability to suppress magic. Therefore, please return the divine beast to the temple." Ella broke out in a cold sweat. "Does anyone else know about this?" Pat replied, "No one but me. This matter concerns the temple's reputation. I can't make it public. Then consider the matter settled. It's not something outsiders should know, so let's end it here. However, shouldn't you do something about my son's magic affliction?" Pat was prepared. "I've also brought some medicine that can help young Master Taysan. It's medicine that mages who can't summon divine beasts often buy. Duke Hyland, currently on the front lines, has also purchased some." Hearing this, Ella pondered. "Although it's medicine, the effect isn't as good as a divine beast. If rumors spread that it's the kind of medicine mages like my father use, it'll be troublesome." So she smiled. "I have an alternative proposal. I will gratefully accept the medicine. As for compensation, I have another request. Please discuss it with me in detail." At that moment, Acorn suddenly flew at them, attacking. I immediately returned to the tower. Even when called back, that one didn't even turn their head, leaving without a second thought. It's never defied me like this before. This is unexpected. It's best to eliminate any potential threats first. I've heard that the temple has a drug that can turn people into puppets without them knowing. Outside the window, Peach overheard the entire conversation. This is bad. I'm in danger. The truth is, I don't have the ability to suppress magic. He lied to take me away. He must have ulterior motives. In the original story, I disappeared at some point. I must have been taken to the temple then. Although I don't remember clearly, I never want to go back there. But the bigger problem is that Ella plans to use the drug to harm Johan. Peach turned and ran quickly to warn him. In the original story, Johan took the temple's drug to win Marie's favor. It's a terrifying drug that can turn a person into a mindless puppet. I can't let that happen to Johan. Johan was sitting alone in his room, looking over documents. Hearing a familiar sound, he noticed Peach. The squirrel rushed in, panting. Johan said worriedly, "It's still daytime. Why are you here? What if the servants see you?" Peach couldn't worry about that. It urgently declared, "Something terrible has happened. Johan, you need to remove the seal, and you're in danger too. Ella is planning to." Peach rambled on, only to be met with Johan's blank stare. "Do you want to die from heartache?" Peach felt like spitting blood. "No. What should I do now? Gesturing with my paws is useless. There's no time to waste. It seems there's no other choice. I really don't want to do this." Suddenly, the squirrel ran towards the bed. It burrowed under the covers. Johan wondered, what's gotten into you all of a sudden? Soon, Peach transformed into a beautiful young girl. Johan asked in surprise, "Why did you transform?" Peach was agitated. "There's no time to explain. The people from the temple want to take me away." "What? They want to take you away? What do you mean?" "I don't know. They suddenly said they wanted to take me back because I don't have any magic power. It's so strange. So I have to run away now. I have to leave immediately." Johan said worriedly, "You have to leave immediately." Peach urged, "Please, Johan, remove this seal. I needed to escape from Highland. Because you're partially connected to Highland, you can remove it. Please, Johan, I don't want to be taken to the temple and die like that." After hearing those urgent words, Johan accepted. He knelt down and said, "All right, I'll remove it right away. I can't let you die." After some manipulation, the seal was removed. "Finally, I can escape from here. Thank you, Johan. You saved me, and you're in danger too." Johan was surprised to hear this. "Me, Ella wants to give you a drug that can turn people into puppets. That drug only works when it's hot, so only eat cold food for now like cold bread. When they give you soup, make sure to wait until it cools down before drinking it." Johan tried to say something, but Peach interrupted him. "Listen to me. If you just endure for a little while longer, you'll be taken to the battlefield. Then you can use a suppressant and you won't have to worry about the magic pain anymore." Johan took the girl's hand. "I'm not worried about that, Peach. You used up all your absorbed magic to tell me this. You transformed like that, but if this continues, you'll change back." Peach was touched. This child, even at the very end, he's still thinking of others. She stroked Johan's head and comforted him. "It's all right, Johan. I'll handle it. Don't worry about me. You have to survive, understand?" Johan forced a smile. "All right, since you gave me this life, I'll live here as you said. So, Peach, where are you going now?" Before she could answer, the girl transformed back into a squirrel. "Peach," Johan shouted as the spirit beast reappeared. "I've used up all the magic I absorbed. It's okay. I've said everything I needed to say." Just then, Johan heard footsteps. He hurriedly cupped Peach in his hands. "Peach, you have to get out of here. It sounds like someone's coming. Climb a tree and get out of their sight." Johan tied the golden thread around Peach. "Make sure you keep this, Peach. I'll recognize you by this golden thread. If you have nowhere to absorb magic, come back here. I'll protect you no matter what." These words deeply moved the spirit beast. Seeing Peach just standing there hesitantly, Johan grew impatient. "Hurry, Peach. I'll distract them. Don't worry." Before leaving, Peach nuzzled close to Johan's face. "You're not a villain, Johan. You have a heart full of kindness and compassion." Johan heard Peach's voice, but didn't understand what she said. "I should take care of myself, because you'll handle yourself." Peach is so smart. The misunderstood spirit beast stamped her foot in frustration. "That's not it. Be serious until the last second." Finally, the spirit beast had to leave through the window. Peach couldn't bear to look back. I'm going, Yuhan. It's really hard to leave you here alone without anyone by your side. But I know you'll go through many hardships and become a better person. Discovering your true self, far beyond those who describe you as a villain, is also one of my fortunes. Thank you, Yuhan. Yuhan stood quietly by the window, watching the spirit beast's retreating figure. Peach isn't here anymore because she's really gone. There's so much I wanted to do for her. Yuhan clenched his fists in anger. Angry shouts rang out from the hallway outside. Find that squirrel quickly. Because of the seal, it can't escape from here. Yuhan suddenly thought about the whole thing. Ever since they sold the spirit beast to Taishan, something felt off about the temple. Anyone with half a brain would realize he had no magic. Peach couldn't have been sent to a place like that. While pondering the serious matter, someone broke the silence. Sir, a man pushed the door open. Forgive me for entering. Yuhan continued to feign ignorance. What is it? The man then asked, have you seen Master Taishan's spirit beast, that squirrel? I heard its name is Blakely. Yuhan replied with an indifferent attitude, I haven't seen it. Blakely, what a terrible name. Just to be sure, we'd like to check your room. He then turned everything upside down, searching. Where could it have gone? If I can find it, I'll get a reward. What will happen if they can't find that squirrel? Maybe they'll make a big fuss. Good luck, and may you sleep well tonight. Hearing this, Yuhan had an idea. How about this? Bring them a dead squirrel. I'll carve Halen's mark on it, so everyone will confuse it with the spirit beast. You just have to say you found it dead, attacked by hounds. Even if they find a real spirit beast, you say you know nothing about what happened. The man seemed convinced after hearing this. Will this really work? Why would you do this? Yuhan offered a trade. Secretly bring me some food. Something simple like stale bread will do. I'm really hungry. He was persuaded, after all, knowing how terrible the food served in the tower was. Understood. I'll go find a squirrel and be right back. Silence returned to the room. Yuhan breathed a sigh of relief. This would at least fool the eyes of the temple for a while. Yuhan looked at the wrinkles on the bed where Peach had been sitting just moments ago, where she had been so lively. But now she was gone. Yuhan felt a pang of heartache. Before that, I hesitated. Honestly, I wanted her to stay by my side more, even considered not touching the seal. But her life was more important to me. For the first time in my life, I found something more important than my own safety, and that was her. Peach must have escaped from here cleverly. She's so smart. Recalling their first meeting, she was so strange, cute, and beautiful, yet full of tricks and determination. There was a time I waited for you without reason. Yuhan grabbed the blanket from the nights Peach had appeared. I waited every day. He buried his face in the blanket that still held Peach's scent. Now you're no longer a part of those nights. Elsewhere, in Marie's temple, she sat reading a letter of request. Another letter of request. Everyone is going through difficult times, but even so, isn't the amount of money they're asking for too much? The financial situation isn't enough to meet the territory's needs, but because they're close to the front lines. I can't ignore it. What should I do? I wish someone could help me here. Just then, a noise outside the door startled Marie. What's that sound? It's coming from the window, but this is the second floor. Who is it? Mary fearfully walked slowly towards the window. After mustering the courage to open the door, she suddenly spotted a squirrel. But what caught Mary's attention was the gold thread. Could it be Blake? Her eyes slowly widened. Oh my goodness, Blake, Mary exclaimed. You're awake. Blake was eating heartily, and Mary watched him with a smile. You're eating so much. Is it that delicious? Blake nodded with bright eyes, making Mary happy as well. There's plenty more. Keep eating. Suddenly, she asked curiously, but why did you come here? It's quite far from Highland's castle. Don't worry, I'll take you back. Hearing this, Blake panicked. No, I just escaped. How can I be taken back to that horrible place? Blake's refusal surprised Mary. What's wrong? What's the matter? Are the nuts not tasty? Blake thought, what should I do? Is there any way to convey the message? Blake immediately ran off, leaving Mary confused. Seeing him rummaging through things, Mary said softly, those are confidential documents. If you accidentally tear or play with them, there will be trouble. But then, Blake kept pointing at the paper in front of him. Mary was surprised. Is there something wrong with the document? She focused on Blake's actions. He was trying to tell Mary that he had been abused at Highland. Mary was shocked. No way. You were abused at Highland. How could they do such a thing? Is that why you ran here? Hearing this, Blake nodded repeatedly, making Mary feel agitated. So cute. But then she thought, at the tea party earlier, Prince Thessen's personality didn't seem very good. He treated his brother, Prince Johann, very poorly. One can imagine how badly he would treat Blake. Who's to say Blake can never return to Highland? So Mary made up her mind. From now on, I will protect you. Don't worry, Blake. And in his mind, he rejoiced, successfully found a new home. Meanwhile, a secret conversation was taking place. Pat kept praising the divine beast issue was handled well. Ravana, the day we went to retrieve it, they discovered it was already dead, bitten to death by hounds. But Ravana was somewhat surprised. It died that day. Pat admitted, yes, it seems they've been very careful in managing the divine beast. I also delivered the bevel medicine requested by the Duchess, so there won't be any information leaks. But Ravana still felt something was amiss. She said to Pat, I still feel uneasy not having dealt with it at the temple. But he shook his head. Ravana, you're too fixated on that divine beast. There's no need to overthink it. Perhaps you're right. Suggesting Highland was to avoid unnecessary trouble in the future. She also knew that most divine beasts didn't have a strong desire to become human, so there was no need to worry. Perhaps the divine beast was the same. On the other hand, the plan to become human was progressing smoothly. Blake couldn't help but rejoice. I've absorbed so much magic power in just 5 days. I wonder if that situation will occur. That's right. Even in the original story, Mary remained beautiful and kind, but she stayed away from any politics or schemes, and she was often influenced by those around her. That's why Medusa's assets rapidly dwindled. I can also tell from the way she treats me. Blake thought. Suddenly, Blake pointed forward, making Mary puzzled. The fireplace. Blake was trying very hard to mimic the action of chopping wood, and the weather was hot. Therefore, it was unnecessary. Mary then pondered and analyzed Blake's perplexing actions. Finally, she understood. Arid is a place with a hot climate, so there's no need for firewood. Are you saying they want to use firewood as a substitute for it? Sure enough, this made Blake excited. Explaining this is so much fun. Mary happily stroked his face. Blake, you're so smart. Amazing. Anytime, if you have something on your mind, will you listen? Blake was very willing. I'll listen to everything. At that moment, he thought, in the next 50 days, I have to absorb magic power, so I must repay this kindness. This didn't seem to really affect Mary, and she was happy to be with Blake. Thank you, Blake. Scene change. In Duchess Medusa's room. She was regretting over Eureka's relics and blaming herself. If I had known I would lose my child that day, I would never have gone to the temple. Thinking of the sad event, tears welled up in her eyes. Midas also had a request. If you were still alive, you would have grown so big. If I could see your warm pink eyes again, I would have no regrets. Scene change. The next morning. Blake was enjoying the ultimate refreshment. This is wonderful. I haven't been this relaxed in a long time. No need to worry about what will happen every day, and the people here are all nice too. This place is amazing. Just take a good rest today. But then, Blake suddenly noticed something. In the window of a room, Blake was puzzled. Wait there. It ran to the window to get a better look and was surprised to find it was Duchess Medusa. I heard she's in poor health these days, and her mind seems unstable. Maybe she's not feeling well. I should go check on her, just in case. A little while later, Blake snuck in. Medusa was quite surprised. A squirrel. She wondered where it had come from. I heard Mary recently adopted a squirrel as a pet. Is that you? Blake kept clinging to Medusa. This made her happily share. This is the hair left by a child named Eureka. She had light brown hair and warm pink eyes. What a beautiful child. Back in the past, there was still no news about her second child. When asked, Duchess Medusa was in extreme pain as she struggled to answer no. Not yet. Then Ella continued to taunt. The number of missing children in the Medusa family seems unusually high. It's fortunate that Miss Mary grew up in your arms. Medusa replied melancholically, yes, but the disappearances that happen in the Medusa family usually occur with the second child. Yes, so he always carefully raised the child within the castle walls. But on her first birthday, when they went out to receive blessings, they encountered bandits. That's what Blake heard. After losing her child, Medusa's health began to deteriorate, and even now she still can't believe it herself, talking to herself as if the other party could answer. I'm sorry. At that moment, Blake wished to comfort her somehow. Finally, it thought of a way. Blake suddenly lay on its back. Then it kept pointing at itself, surprising Medusa. Blake still smiled brightly and enthusiastically. So Medusa laughed. Are you saying that petting you will make me feel better? At that time, Medusa thought, why do I feel so comfortable looking at this squirrel? So she proposed to Blake, if you don't mind, can you come to my room from now on? I'll prepare sunflower seeds and acorns for you. Blake was happy to hear this and smiled in agreement. And now, the atmosphere in Medusa's room was much warmer than before. Until that afternoon, at the Allard family castle, Johan stood by the window, gazing out until someone called, sir, it's time to go. I'm coming, Johan replied. As he walked out the door, Johan's thoughts became chaotic. My father is dead, a man whose face I can't even remember. Even hearing the news of his death, I don't feel any particular emotion. More importantly, Ella is planning to poison Johan, and he's about to go to war. It was then that he realized everything Peach said was right. A war meal was something he'd never had before. If it weren't for Peach, Johan would have lost himself and become Ella's puppet. Peach, I don't understand how you know these things, but I believe you. I'll go to the battlefield, and once the war is over, I will destroy them, those who tried to tear us apart, and the temple, the place that threatened you. Johan was certain he would leave everything behind and move forward. Mary also learned that Johan had safely arrived at the battlefield. It seems he'll be fighting in the rear because of his poor health. It's unfortunate to go to the battlefield with such a weak body. Even Blake felt sorry, so he left after all. The battlefield seems safer for Johan, but I still hope he takes care of himself. Suddenly, Mary called Blake, smiling. My mother's condition has improved a lot since you came. Thank you. Everything in the territory is going well. You're truly a lucky charm. Blake was also happy. I'm the one who should be grateful. Suddenly, Blake ran off, leaving Mary puzzled. Where are you going? Is there something over there? Then, the scene Mary saw also surprised her. Blake, what's going on? I'll explain everything, Miss Mary. Just then, Duchess Medusa walked in and asked, What's wrong, Mary? You're here. I have something to talk to you about. Then she couldn't believe her eyes either and anxiously called out the name, Eureka. Medusa was both confused and overjoyed. Eureka, you're back. Oh my, the gods have answered my prayers. While she was deeply moved, Mary was a little confused. Mother, please calm down. But before she could explain, Medusa, still overwhelmed by a torrent of emotions, suddenly fainted, making Mary exclaim, Mother, is anyone out there? My mother fainted. At that time, Blake panicked. What should I do? I never thought I would suddenly become human. Afterwards, Blake sat with Miss Mary, who still couldn't believe what had just happened. As soon as she saw the doctor, Mary quickly asked, Mr. Brown, how is my mother? Fortunately, she's just asleep. She'll wake up in a few hours. Mr. Brown also said that because she saw someone who looked exactly like the person she had been waiting for, she experienced a temporary mental breakdown. She had been searching for her second child. Although I've taken the necessary measures, the concern is what will happen after she wakes up. Mary was puzzled. What do you mean? Brown hesitated to answer. If she doesn't see the girl, she might feel like she's lost her daughter again. The situation could become worse. This is a crucial moment for stabilizing her mind. For her sake, it's best to let this person stay here. Having said that, Brown requested to leave. Everything was still in a state of panic, leaving Mary lost in thought. Blakely spoke up. Mary came back to her senses and realized, I'm sorry, you must be surprised. My sister, like you, has light brown hair and pink eyes. That's why Mother mistook you for her. I'm sorry for frightening you. Blakely shook her head. No, miss. I'm the one who should apologize. Hearing this, Mary smiled. Afterwards, she also asked if this was Blakely's true form, as she had read many books about bee spirits before. When she realized Mary knew about this too, the bee spirit was shocked. Mary was also curious. But where do you absorb the magic power to transform into a human form? You need to absorb magic power for over 50 days. Hearing this, Blakely said, puzzled, I absorbed your magic power. This couldn't help but surprise Mary. What? My magic power? But I don't have any magic power. Even Blakely herself wasn't sure. She said, but you do possess an incredible amount of magic power. I've been absorbing it continuously for 50 days. At this moment, Mary finally understood. So you've been absorbing my magic power. In that case, does that mean I help you, Blakely? Mary asked, surprising herself. And Mary also felt very excited. I'm so happy. This really makes me very happy. So Blakely also happily followed Angel. Suddenly, Mary proposed. So, would you consider becoming my sister? This was so unexpected that it left Blakely a little confused. What? Your sister? She suddenly exclaimed, as Mary tried to plead, I know this is a selfish request, but Mother doesn't have much time left. I want her to spend the rest of her life in happiness, seeing her daughter return. At this moment, Blakely realized that's right in the original story. Duchess Medusa. She couldn't bear the pain of losing her second daughter and passed away before Mary became an adult. She was a kind and warm person, like a mother. Meanwhile, Mary was still anxiously waiting for Blakely's answer. Seeing her hesitation, Mary continued, if this request makes you feel too uncomfortable, then I apologize, Blakely. But I really hope you can stay. Actually, I don't want to leave you either. Thanks to you, the Medusa family and I have regained our spirits. Your presence has been a tremendous help and support to everyone. Having received so much help from you, I would be ashamed to leave, wouldn't I? Hearing this, Blakely suddenly straightened up and shouted, "No, I'm the one who should be ashamed." Blakely thought to herself, "That's right, I have no reason to refuse Mary's invitation to become the adopted daughter of the Medusa family. There are many benefits, but more than that, they're the ones who treated me like family, even though I couldn't even communicate with them at first. Now it's my turn to repay their kindness." Blakely made her decision. I'm willing to become Eureka." Mary couldn't help but be overjoyed, embracing Blakely. "Really? Thank you." "No, Judica. From now on, I'll call you Eureka." Blakely smiled brightly. "Pleased to meet you." She also called Mary's sister, making Mary faint from happiness. Blakely laughed and said, "From now on, you'll hear it every day, so please get used to it quickly. And now this matter. Blakely will definitely live up to this name. From now on, Blakely will protect the Medusa family's property and honor, and find a way to save the Duchess." Meanwhile, the people outside were also excitedly discussing. "Did everyone hear? I heard that a nameless girl from the orphanage became the Duke's daughter. She looks exactly like the missing second daughter, doesn't she?" Some were curious, while others cursed. "Duchess Medusa is too naive. She must have been deceived. Back when Duke Midas was alive, the family's power was immense, but now there's no difference. The family will soon decline. So what will the Duke's fake daughter do all day?" And now, the bee spirit also lived under the new name of Miss Eureka. "Scene change, welcome, Miss. Thank you for visiting our orphanage. Thank you for your warm welcome. Today, Eureka's first official schedule will be not as a doctor." Taking this opportunity, she also wanted to show the nobles that she had no intention of hiding her origins. And Eureka will definitely find that person. As they were led inside, Eureka felt that everyone seemed very happy, and she was also looking for someone who frequented this orphanage. The one who later saved the crown prince, bedridden due to a demonic fate, was the Empire's greatest physician, Reynard Carden. Unlike other doctors employed by Johann, Reynard did not forget the kindness he received at the Medusa orphanage and saved Marie's beloved, the crown prince. Later, he became the royal physician, hailed as a genius doctor of the era. But back at the orphanage, his abilities took a long time to manifest. Eureka thought, "I wish I could fast forward to that time." Suddenly, she saw someone. He was playing with the children. Seeing this, the person in front introduced, "She's a child care worker playing outside with the children at this hour. She's like a mother to the children." This reminded Eureka of her own memories with her mother. She often expressed her care. "You don't know how thrilled I was to find you. I'm so happy to have you." At this moment, Eureka couldn't help but think of the Duchess. Even if it was a misunderstanding, ever since she was a squirrel, the Duchess had always been kind to her, caring for her like her own daughter. It was because of the Duchess that Eureka couldn't bear to see her die in vain. Therefore, Eureka had to find him. She needed to send Reynard to the academy early so he could cure the Duchess as soon as possible. Meanwhile, two other people were secretly exchanging glances. They were secretly plotting something. As he walked into the room, he explained, "The second floor has classrooms and a library. Those are the children's favorite places." Suddenly, he spoke up. "Miss, I heard you're looking to sponsor a child from this orphanage. How much are you planning to sponsor?" Before he could finish, a scream rang out, startling them both. However, he calmly said, "It seems the children are causing trouble again. I'll be back shortly. Would you like to look around?" Eureka agreed. Even so, she still felt a bit uneasy. He seemed to be angling for more sponsorship money. Lost in thought, Eureka suddenly turned and saw a boy. He was sitting in a corner, reading a book. Eureka spoke, "Hello." This startled him. "Miss, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you come in." This also puzzled Eureka. "It's all right. I'm sorry for startling you. Do you like that book very much? You were so engrossed you didn't even notice anyone coming." Eureka couldn't help but ask curiously. He said excitedly, "It's the latest edition of a medical textbook. It's very interesting because it includes many treatment methods that differ from traditional medicine." Hearing about this kind of book, Eureka was overjoyed. "A medical book. What's your name?" He introduced himself. "My name is Reynard Carden." Eureka was ecstatic. "I've hit the jackpot. So you're Reynard. It's a pleasure to meet you, Reynard. Are you interested in medicine? Why not go to medical school?" But upon hearing this, Reynard's expression darkened. Just then, the other person returned. "So you and Reynard are here. This startled him. He said to Reynard, "You should tell the truth." This made him panic and affirm, "No, I'm not interested in medicine." He complained again, "I really can't stand it anymore." "Miss, could you sponsor Reynard?" Reynard loved medicine very much and is a very bright child. We know he wants to go to the academy, but he doesn't say anything because he's afraid of burdening the orphanage. We're telling you this now because we truly care about him, and we believe he shouldn't miss this opportunity with you here, miss. Eureka also happily said to Reynard, "The orphanage family will be very sad if you give up the opportunity to study when you care so much about medicine. In the name of the Medusa family, I will take care of this orphanage, so you can go to school without any worries. So you can go to the academy and study hard, okay?" The people from the orphanage also continued to comfort him. "Yes, Reynard, don't worry about anything. Just come back safely when the time comes." Reynard was deeply moved. "Thank you, everyone. I will definitely become a doctor." This was a promise Reynard was determined to fulfill. Fortunately, Eureka found Reynard without any trouble. Now, she just needed to organize the documents related to the orphanage and the list of sponsors so she could report to her sister tomorrow. Finally, everything was settled. It was time for Eureka to enjoy a short break. However, her thoughts were still wandering. Speaking of which, when I was a spirit beast, I often prepared to visit Johann around this time. "Johann, you must be doing well." The scene shifted to a resting area, and a voice asked, "What are you doing? Aren't you going to eat?" Suddenly, Johann ordered quiet. This made him puzzled. When he looked at the rock, he saw peanuts. He remembered that it, referring to the spirit beast, often collected acorns and peanuts. But why did it leave the collected items here? Then a surprise occurred. It was a squirrel. He smiled. It must be very hungry, eating so heartily. Johann felt happy too. Then he turned around and asked, "They said they're distributing food. Shall I go back?" He nodded in agreement. "Yes, let's hurry." But Johann still couldn't forget Momo. "Are you doing well?" He wondered, then unconsciously looked up at the sky. "Whenever the sun sets, I always think of you, because that's when I waited for you to come to me in the dark. I miss you, Momo. When the war is over and I find you, I'll help you become human. But when you become human, you'll have no home, no family. You'll be the only one by my side. That way, we'll become each other's only family." The journey continued, and everything went smoothly. Reynard was both nervous and excited. Eureka initiated the conversation. "Are you interested in going to the academy?" Reynard immediately replied, "Of course. It's all thanks to you, miss. Don't worry about Mrs. Illness. Like I said before, I'll study hard and make sure she gets better." Reynard's fighting spirit burned brightly, making Eureka laugh. "How reliable. I believe in you." Reynard also thanked Eureka for taking care of the orphanage. Everyone was delighted to hear that the funding had increased and a library would be built nearby. Eureka also met with Muriel, sharing and reporting on the trip and plans. In addition, she instructed Midas to continue supporting any other needs. Therefore, you just need to continue focusing on your studies. As Reynard was moved by everything Eureka had done for him, she couldn't help but feel proud of herself. Handling everything behind the scenes like this and getting Muriel's approval was the best plan. Indeed, in the original story, Muriel gained influence after being saved by the prince following the downfall of the Midas family. But rather than relying solely on love, wouldn't it be better if she had everything? That way, Muriel would have more paths to happiness. Just as Eureka was feeling pleased, Reynard exclaimed, "Miss, are you leaving right after you drop me off at the academy? Does that mean we'll part ways as soon as I arrive?" Eureka replied, "Yes, I think so, because Muriel's birthday is coming up soon. All the relatives will be gathered." But wait, if it's relatives, then Muriel's uncle will be there too, right? He was Muriel's only advisor, but for some reason, he died quite early. If I remember correctly, the cause of death was poisoning. Eureka immediately asked Reynard, "How much do you know about poison?" "What? Poison?" "Yes. I just suddenly thought, maybe my mother was poisoned, for example." Eureka was convinced. Reynard hesitated after hearing poison. Poison is very strictly and tightly controlled by the temple. Even doctors can't kill someone instantly like that, unless it's used gradually over a long period. Hearing this, Eureka panicked. Gradually used. How is that done? Meanwhile, Muriel's uncle arrived at the palace, and she happily ran out to greet him. "You arrived a week early. I'm so glad you're here. Mother will be so happy." But then, Jaden said sternly, "Why are you running out so excitedly? It's not like it's my first time here. I can find my way in myself." But Muriel couldn't contain her excitement. "I'm really happy to see you." Then Jaden suddenly raised his voice. What's wrong with you? Then, unexpectedly, the Count took off his coat. Do you know how cold it is outside? Going out in such thin clothes? What if you catch a cold? Mother's health is getting weaker, so you have to be stronger. Here, put this on and let's go inside. These words made Muriel incredibly happy. Uncle is as cheerful as ever. All right, let's go in. She took Count Jaden's hand and they went inside together. Suddenly, Jaden asked, by the way, I heard you adopted a sister. Muriel excitedly started to explain. Her name is Eureka. This made Jaden a little suspicious. You named her after your real sister. Yes, Mother believes she is Eureka, and I truly think of her as my sister. When you meet her, I'm sure you'll like her very quickly. Muriel replied with a smile. However, that was just Muriel's thought. As soon as they met, Eureka and Jaden regarded each other as mortal enemies. In this atmosphere, would everything really go smoothly? Muriel couldn't help but worry. At a luxuriously set dining table, Muriel spoke. Mother had breakfast and is sleeping now. Let's start our meal, Jaden. Jaden ignored them, picked up his wine glass, and took a sip, leaving the two dumbfounded. Even so, she wished her uncle a pleasant meal. Eureka thought, I clearly greeted him first, but he still acts like he doesn't like me. Jaden said to Muriel and Eureka, you're in my way. Go sit over there and be quiet. So, Eureka thought, I don't like you either. Muriel wondered why he was treating her like that. She thought, I'll just finish eating and go upstairs. Eureka said, please enjoy your meal. Muriel seemed a little surprised, replying, yes, Eureka, you too. Jaden then placed his glass on the table and asked Eureka, what's your name? Eureka, surprised, replied, what? Then she answered, my name is Eureka Medusa. Jaden replied, no, I mean your real name. Eureka looked at Jaden, thinking he seemed displeased that she was using the name Eureka. Eureka sighed, thinking, well, I do have a real name anyway, and was just about to say my real name is. Jaden was puzzled by the words Blythe. Eureka couldn't believe she'd said that name. Jaden asked in surprise, your name is Blythe. Muriel giggled foolishly. Eureka thought, well, maybe it's because I'm not that person. Jaden continued, anyway, you're just doing meaningless things. He continued, you can't even manage your own family, and this time you brought a stranger into the house. You also allowed soldiers into the Monero war zone, didn't you? Don't you know that increasing military power there is forbidden? Eureka was angry. Why was this uncle always lecturing Muriel? But Muriel stopped her. She replied, this time, there was a recent battle, so I had no choice but to approve it. Muriel told her uncle, but in return, I set some conditions. Muriel replied, yes, I slightly increased the tax rate and decided to use millet instead of tax. Muriel continued, once permission is granted, the biggest problem is not reducing the numbers, but if we tighten the food supply, even Monero will have difficulty maintaining a large number of soldiers. If the expansion of the soldier count is truly due to heightened fear, then the numbers will naturally decrease when the fighting gradually stops. Jaden exclaimed, who are you, and what have you done with Muriel? Muriel asked back what? Jaden said he really thought Muriel's father had returned just then. Jaden asked, thinking like that, does that mean you're going to replace your advisor? Muriel replied, no, it's not like that. Muriel looked at Eureka and said, Eureka helped me a lot. Muriel said it was Eureka's suggestion and that she was so amazing at such a young age. This made her uncle exclaim in surprise, that child. Jaden replied, it's not that strange. Your father also matured quickly at that age, but that might also be because your father was a genius. Muriel looked at Jaden and said, Uncle, Muriel said, please help Eureka. My mother and I see her as family. Jaden said, everyone's acting as if Eureka has returned, and I still believe that one day Eureka will really come back. The door opened, and all three turned to look, surprised. Muriel's mother walked in and asked, Muriel and Eureka, are you having dinner with Jaden? She continued, Eureka dear, did you have a good vacation? I was worried. Eureka replied, yes, Mother, I had a wonderful time. Thanks to the bodyguards you assigned me, there was nothing to worry about. Eureka asked, Mother, are you well? She smiled and said, I was thinking that if I were healthier, I could have gone with you. Muriel comforted her, don't be sad. Next time the three of us can travel together. She said happily, that's a wonderful idea, Muriel. She also said, let's make a cake that everyone likes. Muriel exclaimed, oh, that sounds wonderful. Watching the three of them chatting and laughing happily, Jaden's eyes seemed filled with sadness. The scene returned to the dining table, with only Jaden and Eureka left. Muriel went to pick up Sienna. Muriel thought, he's been silent for a while, not even touching his food. Then Jaden spoke. Jaden said, I owe you an apology for my attitude. Eureka was surprised, huh? Jaden said, I haven't been mature enough. I'm sorry if I inadvertently hurt you. Eureka replied, it's okay. She thought that was an unexpected apology. His tone was much nicer than before. Jaden said, you seem like a smart child, so I'll be blunt. He explained that the Medusa family was currently in a serious crisis. The Duke was missing, and Muriel was leading the family without inheriting the title. She lacks experience, and Muriel is too young to not be clumsy. But the outside world isn't that simple. There are wolves lurking, waiting for an opportunity. This kind of thing shouldn't happen. If something happens to Muriel, Jaden further explained, the responsibility of the Duchess of Medusa will fall to you, and you're not blood related to the Medusa family. So Eureka, you'll be in danger. Others might think it fortunate to become the adopted daughter of the Medusa family, but Jaden wanted her to know that things might not be so simple. Jaden continued, anyway, that child is only acting like everything is fine because of her own sister. Eureka thought his words were a bit harsh, but he was just worried about her and the clumsy Muriel, even though the two of them weren't related. She continued to think he's a bit cold, but he's actually a good person concerned about his descendants. She thanked the Count for his concern and said she understood what he meant. If possible, she only wanted to stay in the Medusa household. Becoming a duchess or anything like that wasn't important to her at all. It was just that she truly loved Muriel and Sienna, and that someday she would leave. But she wanted to help Muriel revive Midas, and also hoped to see Sienna get healthier. To Eureka, they were like precious family. The Duke then smiled. Eureka seemed a little embarrassed to say these words. In fact, the Duke's sister's health had improved a lot over the years. That was all thanks to Eureka staying by her side. His words made Eureka blush. Thank you. Hearing this, her thoughts were completely jumbled. Wait, I take back what I said earlier. I'm sorry. Eureka said she wouldn't let that happen. Eureka thought it was terrible to think that such a good person would die early, so she decided to implement Reynard's plan as soon as possible. Meanwhile, in the hallway outside, Eureka walked and wondered who poisoned the Earl. It was difficult to narrow down the suspects because she didn't know Albert's situation. Should I investigate one by one? She was also afraid that he might say something that could cause a misunderstanding just because she was being kind. At that moment, she was standing in front of the Earl's door. Uncle, it's me. Eureka thought, first, check the Earl's health. She asked, may I come in? I saw it was getting late and you hadn't eaten anything, so I brought you some sandwiches. She intended to use this sandwich to achieve her goal. This surprised the Earl. Sandwiches. At this moment, despite saying it was nothing, Eureka's hands and feet moved quickly. It only took a moment for her to finish, which made the Earl's expression freeze. She made this hoping to share it with the Earl. Then I'll have a little, the Earl said. Eureka was inwardly delighted because she had succeeded. The Earl asked Eureka if she had come because of the unpleasant words earlier, and he secretly regretted saying them. Eureka explained that she had only brought the food because she thought he was hungry. Jaden reassured her not to worry, saying it was nothing, and complimented the sandwich as delicious. Eureka was worried something was wrong. Is there some assassination or revenge plot? Jaden replied, I don't have any enemies. My death wouldn't benefit anyone. Holding the sandwich, Jaden said, but just in case, if anything happens to me, I want you to take care of my eldest daughter. This startled Eureka, and it was true. Her name was Sally Lannister, and the doctor diagnosed her with a lifelong illness. At this moment, Eureka realized that this was the name of a villain in the original story, Sally. The villain who tormented Muriel simply out of jealousy for the prince's affection. She pretended to be kind on the surface, but caused trouble behind the scenes, almost causing the prince and Muriel to break up. Eureka wondered, did Jaden's eldest daughter really have an illness that required lifelong treatment? Because she didn't remember hearing about it. Jaden confirmed that the doctor said it was an incurable disease, and he was very worried because she would have to live her whole life in a frail body. Still surprised, Eureka confirmed again, an incurable disease and frail health. Her uncle asked if she had never heard of it. After that, Eureka said, if you're talking about frail health, Muriel is the one who's frail. She revealed the fact that Sally had spent money and used every means to torment Muriel. Eureka thought of Sally, whom she had assumed was of humble origins, yet had a vast source of funds. She could guess that the source of the funds was her uncle in front of her. At this moment, she wore a confident expression, as if she had found a way to kill two birds with one stone. In Jaden's bedroom, Jaden complained that he felt full no matter what he ate recently, and indeed, he had eaten too many sandwiches just now. Suddenly, everything went black before his eyes. But he then realized that Eureka wasn't a bad child, and if Eureka were still alive, she would be just like that child. Jaden was lying in bed when there was a knock on the door. Someone claiming to be Dr. Brown asked if he could come in and requested permission. Dr. Brown said he came on behalf of Eureka. Dr. Brown claimed that there was something wrong with the sandwich the uncle ate, and the girl was groaning in stomach pain. He looked worried and asked, "Is that child all right? Is she okay?" Dr. Brown reassured him that she was fine and was being taken care of by the young lady. Jaden said it was just because he ate a little too much and felt bloated. The man told him to hurry back and continue treating the girl. Dr. Brown explained that Miss Muriel was particularly worried about the food the girl had prepared and begged him to come and check. Jaden seemed to see the girl's expression on the doctor's face. Finally, he agreed to the examination. The doctor took out his medical kit. Perhaps for Uncle Jaden, this would be a memorable night. Jaden thought to himself that no matter how he thought about it, it was just bloating, but if he kept refusing, the child might worry. Then the doctor exclaimed, "Wait, this is..." Dr. Brown appeared and announced, "My lord," then reassured him, "There will be a more accurate diagnosis later, so please don't worry too much." Dr. Brown revealed that the Count seemed to have been suffering from this condition for some time, and that it looked like poisoning. Jaden asked in surprise, "What do you mean?" The scene shifted to the garden. Why would anyone be so cruel? Muriel continued. Even the family doctor was involved, even falsifying the illness. Eureka asked, "So, Sally Lannister isn't really sick?" Muriel replied, "No, she's perfectly healthy. There's nothing wrong with her. That girl approached my uncle, asking him to be her guardian. She said that because she resembled his missing sister, she should be treated as a second missing person. However, she secretly poisoned my uncle and even tampered with his will so that Sally would inherit the property." Eureka said that her sandwich had turned out to be a blessing in disguise, and they were incredibly grateful for it. She realized that if it weren't for that incident, they wouldn't know what would have happened to her uncle. Although it was just a coincidence, she was relieved that things seemed to have taken a turn for the better. Eureka was glad she had asked Leonard the other day. Leonard explained about the poison. This poison doesn't leave the body, but accumulates in the organs. If it accumulates beyond a certain amount, it can lead to unpredictable consequences. Furthermore, this poison doesn't show any immediate reaction in tests, so there's no chance to detect it. It's difficult to identify and takes a long time to be fatal, so it's not commonly used. When asked if there was a way to tell if someone had been poisoned, Leonard replied, "There's one way. There's a plant that only grows in the South, and if the poisoned person eats it, there will be a reaction. However, this reaction needs to be observed within half a day." Eureka thought to herself that she had added something to the sandwich and was very worried that Jaden would refuse the examination. Afterward, Muriel asked if the little girl was feeling any better, and she replied that she was completely healthy, but in reality, it was all an act. Muriel said, "Uncle also asked about Eureka in his letter and said that when everything settles down, he'll return to the capital to thank you in person. He'll be back soon." Then she added, "However, Uncle said there's a place he must take you." Eureka was taken aback. "A place he must take me." In a basement, Jaden was walking down the stairs, with Eureka following behind. The little girl thought to herself, "I hope this isn't a prison." Jaden warned her, "The stairs are dark, be careful." Eureka was frightened by the darkness. A door opened, and Eureka cried out in surprise, "Oh, this place is..." Jaden said, "This is where the portraits of the heads of the Metis family are kept, and the one in front of you is the current Duke, Oscar Metis." Eureka and Jaden stood silently in front of the portrait of Oscar Metis, the current head of the Metis family. Eureka thought to herself, "This is Muriel's father, the one who went missing on the battlefield." He had a very resolute face. The Midas family had always been a military family, and being in this place felt very real. He said to her, "My brother-in-law is truly a respectable man. I consider him a true brother and deeply respect him. Perhaps because of this, I often come here whenever something important happens." He turned to Eureka and expressed his gratitude. "Today, I want to swear in front of my respected brother that I will never forget your kindness. If it weren't for you, I would have been poisoned to death." Faced with such gratitude, Eureka replied awkwardly, "Oh no, it was just a coincidence." "Even Muriel doesn't know this," he said, "but when Eureka went to the temple for her baptism, I was the one who escorted her. Hearing him say this, her expression turned to surprise. Jaden began to recount what had happened. My sister strongly opposed the child attending the baptismal ceremony. She wanted to keep her in the castle, but I insisted on going. And when I regained consciousness after being attacked, Eureka had disappeared. Perhaps I should have known all along. The Lannister family was very suspicious. But because of guilt, I didn't notice what Sally, Eureka's replacement, was doing. Hearing this, sympathy flickered in her eyes. He expressed his gratitude to her once more. If it weren't for you, I might still be trapped in the past, unaware of what truly matters. Thank you, Eureka, she said awkwardly. Please wait. Jaden continued. From the day you made that sandwich to the subsequent medical examination, everything got better because you saw me as family. From now on, I will never repeat my mistakes and will do my best for my 2 granddaughters. Let's help each other from now on. Hearing these words, Eureka was stunned. She hadn't expected to be valued so much. She replied with a bright smile. Yes, Count. He said, Uncle. Eureka, not understanding, asked what. Jaden looked slightly displeased. Call me Uncle, not Count. I don't want to be addressed so formally by my granddaughter. She replied happily, yes. His face flushed with joy, and Eureka thought to herself, Uncle is quite adorable, after all. Suddenly, she noticed something. She then asked Jaden why there were so many animal paintings in the hallway. He replied, that's because legend says the Midas family's ancestors were beastkin. Eureka stopped in front of a painting of Tiger. Scene change. A group of heavily injured soldiers. One shouts, the other side is blocked too. Another replies, is this the end? Suddenly, the 3 see a light descend from the sky. One of the soldiers says, magic. Aren't all the mages on the front lines? Another says, perhaps Prince Allard. Can he use magic? Johann thinks to himself, I used it because I was afraid everyone would die. Thankfully it worked, but my magic is unstable. I can't use it again. The soldiers look at him with concern. Your Highness, are you all right? He replies, I'm fine. Retreat and regroup quickly. There may be beasts coming down from the mountain. I'll have the 3rd Division handle the aftermath. One speaks up, Your Highness, can we avoid them? Johann is surprised. Why? The man continues, because ever since Duke Midas disappeared, we've tried to avoid disturbing the animals. Many soldiers have seen the Duke transform into a tiger. Johann is stunned. The man, confused, explains, I swear it's true. Of course, a person turning into a beast might sound absurd, but Johann replies, I understand. Let's pretend we didn't see anything. He thinks to himself, absurd. I think so too. I once saw a squirrel turn into a very cute little girl. Johann stumbles as he walks, and the others quickly support him. He's still reminiscing. If Mother were here to see me now, she'd definitely take all the credit. She'd say it's all thanks to her that I can use so much magic. Thinking this, Johann unconsciously breaks into a bright smile. Then I'd say I owe her and promise to repay her. I'd cling to her forever. Scene change. Eureka's life is peaceful. She happily chats with Miss Muriel. She happily converses with Reynard. She chats with her friends. She chats with other young ladies. She feeds the squirrels. Winter arrives, and Jaden complains about her not keeping warm. Unconsciously, her relationship with Count Jaden has become closer. Spring has arrived at the Medivh family mansion. Miss Muriel has a piece of paper in her hand. She opens the door and walks out. Then she calls Eureka. Eureka turns her head. Sister. Miss Muriel says, an announcement just arrived. The war is finally over. Eureka's eyes sparkle with joy. Eureka asks Reynard, how is Mother? He replies, she's much better, don't worry. We reduced the dosage of her medicine, and it's been quite effective. The Duchess Medivh laughs happily. Thanks to that, I feel much more at ease. Reynard continues in a firm voice, it's what I should do. As her attending physician, I'll do everything I can. You can trust me. The Duchess Medivh says, you were introduced by Eureka, so naturally, I trust you. Eureka thinks to herself, it's been 5 years since I first met Reynard. During that time, Reynard, who displayed a talent for medicine at the academy, has become a renowned genius doctor and has been bestowed the title of baronet by the royal family. The medical academy has been begging him to take on research and professor positions. They've offered enticing terms, a professorship with an annual salary of 10 billion gold coins. To this, he only replied, no, I only serve Midas. Reynard, without hesitation, refused all invitations, and, starting last month, became the Midas family's new attending physician. Thanks to him, Dr. Brown finally got the retirement he'd longed for. Eureka says to Reynard, "Mother's condition has improved a lot recently. Thank you so much for coming to see us, Reynard. We'll be in your care from now on." Her words make him blush shyly. "Please don't say that, Mississippi. It's all thanks to you that I was able to become a doctor. I'm the one who should be thanking you for giving me the opportunity to repay this kindness." Eureka is secretly pleased. Is this the joy of nurturing? I'm so proud. Because Reynard became a wonderful doctor earlier than expected, and Mother's health has greatly improved. I've definitely succeeded in changing the original storyline, right? Jaden says, "By the way, now that I think about it, Muriel usually visits Mother around this time, but there's been no word from her today. Did something happen?" Reynard replies, "I did see her briefly earlier, but she didn't look well." Jaden is surprised. "Not well." Reynard continues, "She said she was fine, but she looked like she was worried about something." Eureka ponders, worried about something. Could it be because of that? Scene changed to another luxurious room. The back of a girl reading a newspaper is shown. It's Miss Muriel. She sighs softly. "What is this?" It's Eureka. Eureka asks her, "Sister, are you reading the newspaper again?" Muriel replies, "Yes. It's nice to see everyone so happy now that the war is over." Eureka is surprised. Muriel continued, "It's wonderful that peace has finally come." Eureka thought sadly. As expected, even with the war over, Muriel's heart can't find peace. According to the war treaty, Muriel, as the heir to the missing Duke Medist, was supposed to join the army. However, the royal family, worried about the Medist family line ending, proposed another option, marriage to a war hero in lieu of military service. Because of this, she was able to remain in the capital, acting as the Duke. But now the war is over, and the hero who played a significant role in ending it has appeared. Thanks to the temple's tranquilizing elixir, he awakened as a powerful mage, Johann Allard. If Muriel didn't have someone she loved, this wouldn't be a big problem. But Muriel had already fallen in love with Prince Raymond, and feelings are something one cannot control. I understand why Muriel is so conflicted. Eureka worried about Muriel. "Sister, you've been sighing a lot lately. Is it because of the marriage with the war hero?" Muriel was surprised, huh? Eureka continued, "Be honest, I can tell what you're thinking just by looking at your face now." Muriel was speechless for a moment, then admitted, "Yes, Eureka. I knew from the beginning that the political marriage was my responsibility, so I tried hard not to develop feelings for His Highness. But in the end, I developed feelings that will only burden everyone. As an imperial duke who even postponed military service, I can't even properly celebrate the end of the war. I feel pathetic. I am sorry, Eureka, for bringing up such a heavy topic when we should be celebrating." Eureka looked at her sympathetically. "It's okay. I understand completely." She thought, even if Johann is no longer the villain, the fact that Muriel has to marry someone she doesn't love, a marriage that requires her to bury her love for another, remains unchanged. Muriel, Johann, and even the prince. This marriage is destined to end in tragedy. Did I work as diligently as a squirrel only to create such a sad ending? Regardless, I just want to protect Muriel's happiness. Seeing her beloved sister in so much pain, Eureka's heart ached. She thought, the reason I was able to become human and have happy times. Thinking of this, Eureka felt incredibly grateful to Muriel. Thanks to her, I am who I am today. Scene change. Cheers fill the air. Everyone was overjoyed. I can't believe the war is really over. It must all be thanks to that war hero, the famous mage from the Allard dukedom. People began to talk about him. If it's a mage from Allard, do you mean the second prince? No, it's the first prince, the son of the former wife. I heard he not only possesses powerful magic, but also has a terrifying appearance, radiating a murderous aura. A young lady, overhearing, replied, "Oh my, I heard something a little different. I heard he's very young and so handsome that everyone who sees him is captivated. Since he earned the title of war hero, he'll become the Duke of Allard. A young hero with stunning beauty, and most importantly, a duke. His return. I can't wait." Scene change. A man on horseback entered the capital, his back to the viewer. Another man spoke, "Johann, it's time for the royal procession." He replied, "All right." The entire army will enter the capital. Johann Allard returned from the battlefield amidst the excited anticipation of the entire nation. Everyone eagerly awaited the appearance of the triumphant hero. The man was a true hero. "Johann, Everyone whispered, "Oh my, I've never seen such a handsome man in my life. I thought the previous rumors were just exaggerations, but he's even more impressive in person." A strange boy by the roadside, talking to the squirrel on his shoulder, seemed to particularly catch Johan's attention. It was just a boy's admiration for a hero, but what he cared about was the small squirrel on the boy's shoulder. Johan then used his special ability. Suddenly, an acorn appeared in front of everyone, surprising them. A cavalryman said with a smile, "That must be a gift from our hero. Child, take it." He also told everyone present that Johan had been caring towards animals throughout the war, and in particular, he would even look after places where acorns grew. Everyone looked surprised. A person with such a cold expression was actually an animal lover. Johan clenched the small acorn in his hand. Then, he slowly savored the people's adoration. Meanwhile, in the castle, Eureka and Muriel were discussing something. She believed that at this time, they should find a way to prevent the hero from marrying her sister. But Muriel thought that if they did that, they would both be breaking their promise to His Majesty. Is that really possible? Even so, Eureka understood the worry of committing a serious crime, since they had both been exempted from military service, so it was difficult to deal with that contract. That's precisely the problem. So Eureka suggested they find a way to handle everything without violating the contract. Muriel asked, in surprise, how that was possible without breaking the contract. Eureka's plan was to send a letter to Prince Johan first. Then she would dictate the contents, and Muriel would write it down. The two began to compose the letter to be sent to Duke Johan Eilert, congratulating him on his victory. Furthermore, as a member of the Empire, thank you for ending this long war. Perhaps you recall His Majesty's decree regarding the marriage of the war hero to Miss Medist. I'm contacting you to confirm this matter, so please respond regarding this. Sincerely, Miss Medist, Muriel Medist. Muriel felt the wording was a bit awkward, so she stopped writing, which made her feel like she was drawing a line between herself and the identity of Miss Medist. Eureka laughed and said that was the case, because Miss Medist was no longer a person. Muriel felt uneasy. Was Eureka going to take on the contract in her place? But that couldn't happen. She wouldn't allow herself to make her sister suffer. But for Eureka, this wasn't a sacrifice. Thanks to Muriel, she was able to enjoy all the privileges as the Medist family's adopted daughter and become who she was today. Of course, she wanted to share this responsibility with Muriel. Eureka smiled and encouraged Muriel. You know this better than anyone, because we've been through so much together. It will be okay. Muriel couldn't hold back her emotions, and she spoke her mind. I'm just worried that if things don't go as planned, you might end up in a more difficult situation. Eureka then hugged her sister, comforting her that everything would definitely be all right. She thought to herself that this time, she had something she could truly rely on. According to the original story, Johan fell in love with Muriel at first sight and became obsessed with her, but that had already deviated from the course. From this point on, because she had taken care of him since he was young, Johan's personality would definitely become better. According to the original story, even if something went wrong, she could always boast about being his benefactor. Eureka suddenly turned and looked at the letter. Now that this letter has been sent, we'll receive a reply within the next week, and then we'll meet. Eureka seemed to really want to see Johan again. She was curious about what Johan's life would be like now that he had grown up. Every night after he grew up, under the lonely moonlight, Johan's mood seemed to be the same. He always secretly missed the image of the little acorn he always carried with him. He wondered where Momo was now and what she was doing. This only made him want to find her more. Suddenly, his attendant burst through the door in the distance. He reported that, as per the Duke's orders, the Duchess and Prince the Sand had been locked in the basement. Johan then ordered his attendant to hunt down those who had escaped at all costs. In addition to the report, there was a letter sent from the Medist family. Johan opened the letter, curious as to why the Medist family would send him a letter at this time. Then he looked at the contents of the letter with a surprised expression. He was a little angry, then crumpled it up and threw it into a corner. Johan told his attendant to ignore it. It wasn't worth paying attention to, not even worth replying to. Marriage was truly meaningless. The attendant began to sense the Duke's unreasonableness, but still suggested he reply as soon as possible. To control the capital's high society, he couldn't make the Medist family an enemy. Johan turned around and replied, "Why should I control them? I just want to live happily with the girl I love." His attendant, surprised and afraid, persuaded Johan. That being said, the rumors about Master Johan being a villain I mean, a cold person, aren't good for you. Don't you think such rumors will reach the ears of the person you care about? But Johan went on to say that rumors didn't matter because she already knew his good points. But Johan thought to himself, the problem is if Momo sees me involved with the Metis family, she might misunderstand me. I can't let that happen. I'll go directly to the Duke Metis mansion. Tomorrow, they sent a letter like this, which means they really want to marry me. To prevent them from causing further trouble in the future, Johan wanted to ask them to cancel the engagement and resolve the matter immediately. Eureka stared blankly at the Duke, wondering what she was doing here. Since discovering this place, she would come here whenever her thoughts were overloaded. This place was quiet, perfect for organizing her thoughts, and it brought a comfortable feeling as if everyone was quietly listening to her heart. Eureka stood there blankly for a long time, lost in thought. Your Grace, the war is finally over. The Empire has won, everyone is celebrating, and social gatherings have resumed. But in fact, the end of the war is also an important matter for me. Because the temple was active again, Eureka never forgot its suspicious behavior. She didn't understand why they lied about her having no abilities, only to bring her back. And Muriel said that the ancestor of the Metis family was a beast man, just like the common legends in any noble family. She also tried to verify it, but she couldn't find any useful information in the family archives. But the legend of the Metis beast man, the missing children, and the temple's management of the divine beasts, she always felt that there was some connection between these things. She hoped it was just paranoia, but it wouldn't hurt to check. Suddenly, a servant came to announce that the doctor had arrived. Eureka glanced up at the painting and smiled triumphantly. Please support me. Inside the palace, Muriel suddenly cried out, unsure of what was happening. Why is Lord Johan here? He came unannounced that day. The servant replied, I told him to contact us next time he visits. Muriel panicked because she hadn't prepared anything, but Lord Johan suddenly demanded to see her immediately. Could it be that he was so eager to marry her that he rushed over? Muriel scratched her head, starting to panic. What did I do the first time to make Lord Johan fall in love at first sight? Is he the type to easily fall into a love trap? What should I do? I need to call Eureka. But no, Eureka is visiting Mother with Nanette right now. Yes, the treatment has only just begun, and Mother would be worried if I suddenly called Eureka. So she decided to greet him herself first. Suddenly, a servant came to deliver a message from Eureka. The message read, Sister, I just heard from the butler that Lord Johan is here. I'll be there as soon as possible, so please try to stall for time. It wouldn't matter even if something went wrong now. At that moment, the family doctor also came to treat Eureka. He suggested they have tea together when she was free, but she politely declined, saying she had a guest she needed to attend to immediately. Hearing this, he obediently accepted. But on the surface, her complexion really wasn't good at all. Eureka's face was filled with worry and anxiety. It was just that Eureka found Johan's sudden visit a little unsettling, as she hadn't prepared anything. Then she asked the doctor if he had any medicine that could make her face look pale. Reynard was surprised by the question. Why are you looking for medicine to make your face pale? Are you trying to look pitiful in front of someone? So you're asking if there's such a medicine. He never thought such an unreasonable thing would happen in this world. However, it was a medicine that could reverse the flow of magic power, causing one's complexion to deteriorate rapidly, and it hadn't been released yet. But because he developed it, both its safety and effectiveness were guaranteed. She was curious, but why would a doctor like him make something like that? Reynard then said with a sinister and frightening expression, when the academy tried to force me to stay, I plan to use this medicine to escape under the pretext of recuperating. As the saying goes, a kind person, once they put their mind to it, becomes even more frightening. Then he gave her the tested medicine and assured her that he had tested it himself, so she didn't need to worry. Without thinking much, Eureka drank it immediately. After drinking the medicine, she thought it tasted good, but felt something strange. Suddenly, her vision blurred and her head became dizzy. Eureka began to feel the effects of the medicine. As the medicine took effect, she became unsteady on her feet and needed Reynard's support. But strangely, Eureka seemed to feel the effects very quickly. Eureka, unable to stand, clung to Reynard. Headaches and dizziness continued to swirl within Eureka's body, so she asked Reynard for help, which made him blush. Then he helped her toward the hall. Eureka no longer asked the doctor for help, but seeing her complexion, he became even more worried. It seemed the medicine was a bit strong, so Reynard suggested he quickly examine her. Just as they stood outside the room, a familiar cold male voice rang out. I will go see His Majesty soon, and talk to him about canceling the engagement. Johann had arrived, and he wanted to quickly end the engagement and leave immediately. Suddenly, Johann sensed a strange commotion outside and turned to look. The image of a girl made his eyes widen in surprise. The girl he had been searching for was right in front of him. He quickly approached, calling her by an affectionate name, and asked why she was here. Just a few minutes ago, Muriel was struggling with worry and apprehension. If she made a scene, she'd have to stall for as long as possible until Eureka arrived and figure out how to make him lose interest. As Muriel tried to come up with excuses to distract him and make a bad impression, Johann burst in from outside, shoving the door open and ignoring the panicked attendant who tried to stop him. Upon seeing her, Johann greeted her with his icy stare. Muriel was taken aback. She hadn't expected a prince like him to barge into her office so casually. She stared at Johann, standing opposite her. His frigid aura seemed to freeze the entire study, his eyes and face even more oppressive than before. A murderous air filled the room. Looking at his cold expression, Muriel felt overwhelmed, almost on the verge of tears. But she told herself to remain calm and follow Eureka's instructions. Muriel spoke first, addressing the prince. "It's quite rude of you to show up like this without even replying to my letter." Johann, completely indifferent to her words, coldly replied, "That's a fair assessment." Miss Johann's overwhelming presence made the already insecure Muriel even weaker. She hesitated, completely bewildered by his meaning, but his icy voice had already taken control of the situation. As the illustrious heir to a high-ranking noble family and a war hero, I understand perfectly why you wouldn't want to lose me. He stepped closer, his tone threatening, but I feel no obligation to fulfill that desire. Before Muriel could grasp his meaning, Johann got straight to the point. He didn't want to waste any more words. He wanted them to break off the engagement as soon as possible. But it wasn't as simple as just canceling it. Muriel was dumbfounded. Contrary to her expectations, this cold and arrogant man was so determined to break off the engagement. Before leaving, Johann added, "If you have any objections, it doesn't matter, because I've already made up my mind about this." Muriel started to voice her own thoughts, that she also wanted to end the engagement, unlike what he assumed. He wanted to draft a document to annul the engagement as soon as possible and petition the emperor. The content: Johann Ellard and Miss Medist hereby dissolve the engagement arranged by imperial decree. Even in this brief moment, Muriel still hadn't recovered, unsure of what was happening. She thought to herself, this is exactly the outcome we both wanted, but Eureka said she'd side with the Ellards politically, so they wouldn't easily give up on the Medist family. She wondered if she'd missed something. Muriel tried to interject, asking the prince to wait until Eureka arrived. Muriel explained that she had a younger sister named Eureka, who was also a Miss Medist, so he should wait a moment. But Johann insisted there was no need. Even if it's your sister or anyone else, I don't want anything to do with the Medist family anymore. Either way, it will be a burden and an inconvenience to me. Hearing the prince say this, anger flared within Muriel. She thought he could say such harsh things without even meeting Eureka. Just then, Eureka, outside the door, overheard her sister desperately hoping she wouldn't meet the prince. Muriel tried to add a stipulation to the prince. I want to add a clause that this decision cannot be revoked under any circumstances. Do you agree? Johann agreed, but wanted to ensure the Medist family's name in the document matched the original decree, so I can clearly state I don't want to be involved with either of you. Muriel forced a smile, trying to assure the prince amicably that such a thing would never happen. After the petition was written, she said, although you're incredibly rude and harsh, I hope you're a man of your word and responsibility. You must not go back on this. Johann reassured her, I never go back on my word. He then turned to leave, saying as he opened the door, I will go see His Majesty soon and report the annulment today. Neither Johann nor Muriel expected the annulment to be resolved so easily. For Johann, all that remained was to find his beloved Momo. But unexpectedly, upon opening the door, he saw Momo, looking unwell and supported by an unfamiliar man. He quickly approached, asking why she was here. Was this a dream? He had spent his life hoping to find her quickly, and here she was. His hands trembled slightly as he touched the petite girl. Suddenly, Muriel appeared from behind, calling out Eureka, saying everything was resolved, leaving Johann stunned at hearing the name Eureka, the very name he had just rejected. He hadn't expected the person Muriel mentioned to be the one he'd been searching for all this time. Stunned, he could hardly believe it. Muriel interrupted his thoughts, explaining that they had just finalized the documents to annul the engagement and confirm that there would be no changes. She smiled calmly, teasing that despite his difficult personality, he wouldn't go back on his word. Johann Frusa, speechless. Eureka hadn't been able to speak a word since seeing him. She suddenly created distance between them, thanking the prince, which made him uneasy. Smiling, Eureka tried to express her gratitude, asking Johann to give her a moment. They began to speak their minds, Eureka starting first. Thanks to those conditions, I was able to safely return to being human. Johann, who had been aloof just moments before, now responded gently. I'm glad you were able to become human again. I've been wondering where you were and if you're doing well. Eureka felt the same, having always regretted their brief and sudden separation. I'm also glad you returned safely from your long expedition. Johann gazed at Eureka affectionately. He thought to himself, her warm smile, it hasn't changed a bit. Not long ago, I thought I was the only one who could see that smile, the only one who could help you become human again, become your family. But now you have other members. Suddenly, Johann felt a pang of jealousy towards the man beside her. Just now, he blurted out, who was the man you were with earlier? Eureka, without a second thought, immediately explained that it was Reynard, the family doctor, and her friend. Hearing the word friend, Johann thought, so that man isn't her fiancé. Eureka began to understand what he meant. She whispered, actually, I lived in an orphanage before I was adopted, so I'm still worried about my background. Could you keep it a secret? I'm also still worried about the temple that was looking for me before. At the mention of the temple, Johann thought, don't worry about anything outside the temple. Actually, before you even asked, I've already taken care of it personally. Suddenly, Eureka's face turned alarmingly pale, causing him concern. She didn't know why, but she felt incredibly nauseous. She needed to call Reynard immediately. Before she could finish her sentence, Eureka collapsed, overcome by dizziness. Suddenly, she transformed back into her beast form, a small squirrel. Meanwhile, Muriel and Reynard were having tea in the study. She was greatly relieved that the engagement had been smoothly annulled, but she was also a little worried, as Johann had been even more arrogant and rude than rumored. Leaving Eureka alone with someone like that, I'm a bit concerned. Noticing a strange look on her sister's face, Muriel asked Reynard. Eureka looked a little unwell earlier. Is she all right? Hearing this, Reynard quickly explained. He had given her a medicine at her request, which would make her complexion paler, hence her unusual appearance. Muriel, worried and curious, asked, are you sure that medicine doesn't have any side effects? She really looked unwell. Reynard continued, explaining that although Miss Eureka had said she was fine, her condition seemed to have worsened after taking the medicine. He couldn't help but wonder if he had prescribed the wrong medication, so he didn't know what exactly had happened to her. Eureka, suddenly reverting back to her squirrel form, seemed to be a side effect of the medicine. She hadn't even known she could still transform back into a squirrel, having successfully become human 5 years ago. Scratching her head in thought, she realized that since it was a magic-breaking medicine, it might not affect ordinary people, but it could have side effects on divine beasts like her. Unexpectedly, Johann's large hand suddenly scooped up the little squirrel, his face full of bewilderment. He didn't understand why she had suddenly turned back into a squirrel. Could it be that her transformation into a human wasn't complete? As for Eureka, being this close to him, she could see that he had truly grown up. Even his hands were bigger than before. She stared at him, mesmerized, thinking, seeing him again in my squirrel form really makes me realize how much Johann has grown. But she had to snap out of her infatuated thoughts immediately, because now she had to figure out how to turn back into a human. He understood her intentions and movements, knowing she wanted to return to her human form. The little squirrel looked incredibly cute. Now she just needed to absorb some of his power to easily transform back. But for easier communication, Eureka thought she should try to become human first. She had to draw a little life force from Johann's power. Sure enough, as soon as she touched him, it worked instantly. She pondered to herself, initially worried about replenishing her magic only after 50 years, thinking this might be a temporary effect of the medicine. But then she suddenly remembered that if she returned to her human form in this state, she would be completely naked. So before transforming back, she had to jump onto the pile of clothes. The little squirrel quickly leaped out of Johan's arms. She had to hurry, otherwise, she would be naked in front of Johan. Just as Johan looked over, he saw her barely managing to grab a dress to cover herself. Eureka froze in embarrassment, then yelled, "Don't look." At that moment, Muriel and Reynard were walking down the hallway. Hearing her scream, they both panicked. Fearing something had happened to her, they rushed over. Reaching the door, they knocked and called her name. Inside, both Eureka and Johan were embarrassed and annoyed, terrified of being seen in this situation. Frightened and flustered, Eureka quickly asked Johan to help her tie her dress. He was so embarrassed that his face turned as red as a burning furnace. Outside, Muriel thought both their voices sounded strange. Indeed, even Johan's voice was laced with panic. Reynard thought he had to rush in, forgetting all sense of propriety. He was certain something was wrong. Hearing this, Muriel became even more worried and agreed with him. Reynard flung the door open, and they both rushed in, but to their surprise. Fortunately, Eureka had already managed to fix her clothes and calmly greeted them, but Johan couldn't suppress his embarrassment. On the surface, she tried to appear calm, but inside, Eureka felt like she had aged 10 years. She had almost been discovered. Reynard curiously asked if they were all right, as they both seemed out of breath. At this, Johan was speechless and turned away, while Eureka tried to explain that she had just been sunbathing on the terrace because the weather was nice. She forced a smile, assuring them that she was absolutely fine, her complexion returning to normal. It seemed the medicine had been quite potent. Casually changing the subject, she asked Reynard if he could make her more of that medicine. Reynard said it wasn't a complicated concoction and wouldn't be difficult to make, but what did she need so much of it for? Thinking she might need it occasionally in the future, she persuaded Reynard to make it for her. Afterward, Eureka wanted to get them out, as they had already confirmed she was all right. She ushered the two bewildered individuals out of the room. Reynard felt that, for some reason, Duke Johan looked worse than she did. Judging by his complexion, it seemed like he was the one who needed treatment. Meanwhile, all Johan could think about was the image of Momo transforming back into her human form right in front of him. Just the thought of it was driving him crazy. While he was lost in thought, Eureka called out to him. She apologized to him, as it might have upset him. It had been a long time since she had transformed, so she had forgotten what it entailed. It was truly an accident. Johan tried to push the incident out of his mind, and instead asked her why she had transformed into that form. Eureka thought optimistically. She wasn't sure, but based on her guess, she wanted to test it again. So she asked Johan if he could do her a favor when he went to the temple for the victory celebration soon. She wanted to take the opportunity to hide in his sleeve in her squirrel form and go with him. Hearing this, Johan was a little surprised. The war had ended sooner than expected. Deep within the Lavanna temple, they were discussing with the high priest. A hero had been born the moment the elixir was developed. He was starting to get annoyed. He hadn't expected the eldest son of the Aylard family to be such an extraordinary mage. They should have realized it sooner, considering even the Duchess was wary of him. Lavanna then mentioned the divine beast that had been sent to the Aylard house in the past. Considering it was in the same place as Johan Aylard, the possibility that it had already taken human form couldn't be ruled out. The high priest also found it strange that the divine beast wasn't dead when it was retrieved, and it even had the Aylard crest engraved on its chest. However, the adopted daughter of the Modestay family appearing at that time was even more suspicious. Wouldn't engraving the crest be a simple matter for a direct descendant of the Aylard family? There were too many suspicious things to worry about. The high priest had a headache from this tangled mess. He continued, saying that even so, they were no longer people they could easily deal with. Johan Aylard was now a war hero, and that adopted daughter was under the protection of the Modestay family. They couldn't do anything at the moment. However, Lavanna seemed to have some sinister plan. She proposed that she would personally intervene in this matter and investigate on the day of the celebration. As expected, inside Jaden's carriage, he was reading the sensational news in today's morning paper. Johann Allard, upon arriving in the capital, broke off his engagement with Muriel Modesta. Because of this, he had to leave immediately, worried about the children back home, but he hadn't expected Johann to visit them first. Everything seemed to have been resolved too easily, making one wonder if something else had happened. After traveling for a while, Jaden heard whispers from the streets on both sides, discussing the latest news about the Allard family. Johann locked the Duchess and Baron Thessan in the dungeon, then became the Duke himself and dismissed all the servants. Even if she was a harsh stepmother, doing such a thing to the person who raised him was too cruel. Jaden thought to himself, what a complicated family. Then he turned back to the newspaper, relieved that the engagement had been canceled without a hitch. They were determined to cancel it, so there was no way they would change their minds. According to the newspaper, Duke Allard, after saying he didn't need a victory celebration, contradicted himself and suddenly asked the temple to hold one. But that incident made Jaden realize something unusual. Duke Allard came to see them every day just to see Lady Eureka. What was the reason for this unusual behavior after the breakup? He started to get angry, blood rushing to his head, because he dared to break off the engagement, yet this guy still visited Eureka every day. He then realized Johann's true intentions. It seemed all signs pointed to him wanting to reinstate the engagement. Meanwhile, Johann was still tormented every day, pondering his rash actions and wondering if there was any way to stop the cancellation of the engagement. Every time he saw Eureka, he tossed and turned, hoping for some magic to turn back time. Back in reality, Eureka hadn't expected Johann to actually cancel all the victory celebrations and, for no apparent reason, ask her to take him to events. Therefore, she felt very guilty because he had changed for her, even at the expense of his own reputation. Although it was nothing compared to the engagement for him, Eureka still felt guilty when everyone started misunderstanding him, thinking he was a weirdo who bothered the temple. Johann comforted her with a gentle smile, saying he didn't care about those things. Eureka was deeply moved, thinking he was a very kind person. Why were there always such strange rumors surrounding him? Just as Johann announced that the victory celebration would be held next month, they said it should have been sooner. But this was the best they could do. She then wondered if she should experiment a few more times with the elixir Reynard gave her before they left. But what was more dangerous than the present situation was that the royal family had already taken action. Because the temple was organizing a victory celebration, the royal family announced that they would also hold a victory banquet. And their banquet was earlier than expected. Before Johann could speak, Eureka had more or less guessed. Considering the temple's influence in the empire, the prince wouldn't stand idly by. He must have decided that he couldn't let the temple hold the celebration for the war hero. So she told Johann to accept the invitation to the banquet if they mentioned it. While he was silent, Johann suddenly called her name again with an awkward and flustered expression. He asked her if she had found someone to accompany her to the banquet. As soon as he finished the sentence, Johann's face turned red. However, Eureka said she was considering it and had already chosen a few familiar people. He began to dread who the familiar person she mentioned was. The sky grew dark. Johann tried to ask who the familiar person she mentioned was, but Eureka calmly said the main candidate was him. This left Johann stunned, unable to believe his ears. Eureka added that if she went with him, even if her sister attended with His Highness the Prince, it wouldn't be strange, and it would further solidify the Modesta family's position. Moreover, if she attended as the companion of the main guest of the banquet, it would be harder for the temple to deal with her. But Johann's thoughts at this moment were different. He thought she had suffered a lot because of the temple, and if she had to face that situation again, he swore that if that was what she was worried about, he would destroy that temple in one fell swoop. Eureka was deeply moved by his words. But in truth, she had to stop him because he absolutely couldn't do that. There were things she wanted to confirm about the temple, and if he destroyed everything, they wouldn't be able to uncover the whole truth, so he mustn't have that kind of thought. Suddenly, another unusually loud noise came from outside, and a familiar voice called out to her. Eureka heard a familiar voice calling her name, so she recognized it. The man outside seemed to be her uncle, barging in. Jaden yelled, cursing that damned hero. I heard he's been pestering you. Those words were like salt in Johan's wounds. He froze. Eureka glanced at the person being spoken ill of. Just after she spoke, Albert, who was standing in front of her, noticed both of them looking at him. Johann was about to ask who he was when Eureka quickly ran over and called out Uncle. Johann was surprised she called the man Uncle. She ran up to her uncle and asked why he had suddenly barged in, but he still didn't quite understand and curiously asked who Johann was. Albert spoke up to explain, "I was worried about Eureka after hearing the rumors about the broken engagement." Hearing Johann's greeting, the two paused their conversation and turned around. Then he introduced himself. "I'm Johann Arald." Hearing Johann say this, Albert felt as if a bright light was shining directly in his face. He then shook Johann's hand and introduced himself. "I'm Jaden Albert." But he kept thinking, Johann is different from what I heard. Eureka stood between them, watching them greet each other, completely lost. Afterward, Albert mentioned the previous incident and apologized, but Johann cheerfully replied that it was all right. He also addressed the rumors that had caused the misunderstanding. A thought flashed through Johann's mind. If he wanted to reconsider marriage, he had to make a good impression on Eureka's family. He offered to explain everything directly, so Johann pulled Albert to sit down and talk. Eureka was delighted to see them getting along so well, but her uncle still didn't understand what was going on. In Albert's mind, he began to think, he seems much more normal than I imagined. Once they were seated at the table, he began to inquire about their relationship. Eureka quickly replied, "Yes, when I was little, he helped me a lot." She continued, explaining how Johann went to war and they lost contact and then happily reunited. Hearing this, Albert understood. The atmosphere of the conversation was very pleasant. Albert thanked him for his help, but Johann said it was nothing. Albert said he was relieved to learn that they had known each other before. But then he said, "Can I ask you about what was in the newspaper?" He then pulled out the newspaper from his person, making it clear that he cared deeply for his niece and thus needed to clarify the rumors. Johann confidently replied, "Of course, please ask anything." But Eureka was quite worried. Albert pointed to the newspaper and asked if it was true that he had canceled the victory celebration and then changed his decision. Eureka was surprised to hear this, realizing it was because of her, but she struggled internally, unsure what to do as she couldn't tell them she was a divine beast. Johann answered, "Yes, that's right." To recognize the soldier's efforts, I had the audacity to request the event be reinstated. Eureka thought to herself, he answered so well. Albert thought for a moment and said, "If that's the only reason, it's reasonable." Looking at the newspaper, Albert continued to ask. The newspaper wrote about how Duke Arald imprisoned his stepmother and half-brother in the dungeon, with pictures included. Johann sat listening to the contents of the newspaper and confirmed, "That's also true." Albert continued, "According to the dismissed servants, the Duchess provided him with private guards and ensured he received ample treatment." Then why was that? Eureka thought sadly, remembering how she had tormented him, and there was no treatment at all. Noticing her stir, Albert turned to look at her. Eureka told him, "Only those involved truly understand family matters. Rather than relying on rumors, it's better to trust what you see with your own eyes." She continued to speak well of Johann. This touched him deeply, and the two exchanged a happy look. Albert apologized again for believing the rumors, but Johann felt it was all right and was even grateful for the chance to explain. All questions answered, the matter was settled. Suddenly, Johann saw information about Eureka in a book and asked, "What's that?" Albert said, "Oh, this." He explained that it was a scrapbook of articles about Muriel and Eureka. Johann was curious upon hearing this. Albert suggested they look at it together, but Johann only wanted to see what Eureka looked like as a child. He continued to talk about the past events in the book. Eureka thought it was nice that they were so close. Then she noticed the newspaper on the table. Eureka asked, "Uncle, what's this?" Albert replied, "It's a newspaper from the East. I brought it just in case." He added, "It doesn't seem to be in the capital's newspapers yet, though." The newspaper contained news of Prince Theodore's engagement and how he fell in love with his fiancée at first sight. The lady was also of noble background, and her name was Lavinia Saves. Eureka was surprised to hear the name of the second prince's fiancée. A brief introduction of the second prince, Theodore. He's the first prince's half-brother, a man of great ambition. In the original story, he cooperated with Johann to restrain the first prince, only to be betrayed in the end. Eureka was surprised. She had never heard of the name Lavinia Saves, and she had a feeling something was amiss. She thought, how could this happen in the storyline? Albert asked her if she was interested in the marriage, but Eureka only said, "I'm just curious. I haven't even heard of the Saves family." Albert hadn't either. Eureka continued to ponder, I'll look into this family further, but I can't understand how a royal engagement could be so hushed up in the capital. Lost in thought, she didn't notice Johann speaking to her. Suddenly, something occurred to her. She said to Johann, "If this is true, and the engagement is announced at the victory banquet, then the star of the banquet will be." Johann replied, "Prince Theodore." Then he pointed to the photo of the prince's fiancée, the woman he had brought as his companion. Eureka worried that her plans would be disrupted. She had considered Reynold and Uncle Jaden as potential dance partners, but if this was the case, she would need another. Turning to Johann, she said, "Johann, I have a serious request." Her uncle, standing nearby, wondered what she was about to do. She was bringing up a crucial point that would ensure victory and benefit his political standing. Then she directly asked him to be her dance partner. The scene shifted to the second prince's castle, where footsteps could be heard. It was Lavina's saves. She greeted the prince, who turned to welcome his fiancée. He then mentioned the item he had asked her to bring, the divine squirrel. The day of the banquet was fast approaching. Johann and Eureka were walking side by side. Contemplating their plan, she began, "If we appear at the banquet together as dance partners, everyone will surely talk." She then spoke of his noble and dazzling status, while she was merely an orphan adopted from an orphanage. An idea struck her. "I think it's best we coordinate our story of how we met beforehand." Johann looked at her and called her name. Eureka felt a pang of guilt, as she only saw him as a good friend, but she remained focused on devising a story for the banquet. Johann thought to himself, "If I were to marry Eureka like that, it would only be a political marriage. In that case, Eureka would never see me as a man." Johann thought of a better approach, to start anew and pursue Eureka properly. Then he spoke. He proposed his plan to her, and she listened. Johann began to act, taking her hand and saying, "When I went to the Duke of Meitz's residence to break off the engagement." He gestured as if it were truly happening, continuing, "Then I fell in love with you at first sight." Johann then complimented her beauty, causing her to blush. Taking the opportunity to hold her hand, he said the reason was that he visited the residence every day. Eureka softly called out Johann. She was glad he had come up with a good explanation for his frequent visits to her home. Johann felt disappointed. Despite his efforts, she didn't seem to believe him at all. Eureka boldly suggested, "We could say we're lovers and are considering getting engaged." Johann asked with interest, "So, are we getting engaged now? Or when would be the right time?" But she laughed and said, "No, not yet. There will be a more suitable time." They agreed on Johann's plan, and she was happy the problem was solved. Johann was relieved because there was no other way. He thought he needed more time to win Eureka's heart. Ahead was a magnificent castle, a place where noble children attended tea parties. Two young ladies were sitting together, sipping tea and discussing the post-war banquet. Miss Muriel said there were many invitations to banquets, but she hadn't attended any. Eureka asked her sister if she had declined the previous banquets using the excuse of being unwell. Muriel admitted it and didn't want to reveal that she was the prince's companion. Eureka told her it was the right thing to do. If the matter wasn't revealed, everyone would speculate about their relationship. Outsiders would assume that Muriel, previously engaged to the war hero, had given her heart to the prince. And those criticisms would accuse them both of disregarding the royal engagement. Therefore, Muriel thought it best to avoid social gatherings and keep a low profile during this time. Eureka nodded in agreement, but then she asked Eureka a question. Then she continued, "Are you really not attending any social gatherings?" The question was quite sudden, so Eureka was a little surprised and didn't know what to say. Her sister was worried that Eureka wasn't socializing and didn't have any friends her age. But she laughed and said it was okay, using Johann as a shield. From Muriel's perspective, the way Johann looked at Eureka wasn't like a friend at all. Eureka picked up her teacup and playfully repeated, "Sister, perhaps you forgot, I'm also a beast. My true nature is a squirrel." Muriel gasped, "Oh, right?" Realizing her blunder, she stammered, "Squirrels are so cute, so they don't really count as beasts. I mean, they're beasts, but..." Eureka's expression seemed amused. She was teasing Muriel. But in Eureka's mind, she still thought, what sister said is also true. She sank in her inner darkness, thinking, basically, I'm just an animal living in a human shell. If the real Eureka is still alive and one day returns, what will become of me? She wondered. The family will give all their love to the real Eureka, and I will have to leave here. The inner darkness enveloped her. She thought she didn't deserve any of this because she wasn't the real Eureka and felt sad that she didn't have a true friend. Suddenly, she stood up and bid Muriel farewell, saying she had to leave. Her sister asked, "You're going downtown today, right?" Eureka waved her off, reassuring her sister, but in her heart, she thought, "I've established many other things downtown." It was now evening, and the streets were gradually becoming deserted. A mysterious figure appeared in the city, cloaked from head to toe. She worked for MedSet, gathering intelligence, monitoring the temple's activities, and trading with various intelligence guilds. This person walked to a building. The History Guild was the guild she had the closest relationship with. Among the many guilds, she lifted the hood of her cloak. It was Eureka. She greeted everyone. The president of the History Intelligence Guild, named Lynn, was surprised that Miss Eureka had come in person today. Lynn was pleased to see Eureka herself, as she was just about to send a letter to inform her. The two sat down together. Eureka anxiously asked, "So, what is the news you were going to send me?" The president held the documents in her hand. The news she announced wasn't good. "Someone is spreading malicious rumors about you." Lynn relayed the content of the rumors, which called her a spoiled and arrogant adopted daughter and a cunning orphan who deceived the naive Miss Muriel. Tracing the source of these rumors, it seemed to originate from the Scepter royal family in the East. Eureka thought, "I suspected them as soon as I heard that name. I was right." She realized something. "They're targeting me. Could my identity have been discovered?" She instructed the guild president to monitor the situation more closely, as it might be related to the temple, but for now, to leave it alone and see how things develop. However, Lynn still had a question for Eureka. She reminded Eureka to be careful, as she would be attending the victory celebration as Count Heliod's partner. Eureka sipped her tea, listening to Lynn go on and on about being wary of that wicked magician, Johann. She was also taken aback by Lynn's words, and told Lynn with displeasure that she wasn't a child anymore, but the president still treated her like a cute little kid. Eureka told her, "It's all right." Then she said Johann was kind and a good person, but Lynn remained skeptical. With their business concluded, Eureka stood up to leave, but Lynn felt she was leaving a bit early. She bid farewell to the guild president. Lynn didn't forget to remind Eureka to tell her if anything happened. She had left, but Lynn's face was still filled with worry. Eureka walked, lost in thought. When everything was almost settled and she hoped the banquet would go smoothly, the day of the banquet arrived. In the royal palace, many nobles were gathered, chatting. Two people at the banquet were talking about how Prince Theodore had returned after a period of recuperation and was looking much healthier. Then, the empire's second prince, Theodore Raleigh, appeared, exuding charm. When they saw his female companion, the murmurs grew louder. Someone recognized her as the young lady from the Cephas family. It was natural for people to be curious about them being together. Prince Theodore leaned closer to Miss Lavina and whispered, "Since my marriage is also at stake, I truly hope this will bring a good outcome." Lavina smiled and cleverly replied, reassuring the second prince. He reminded her of the debt and considered it a fair trade, because he had kept her secret of being a mage. Lavina strongly agreed with Prince Theodore's decision, as it was beneficial for both of them. She worried that if the truth came out, he would be sent to the battlefield and lose his standing in the succession struggle. For the prince, if that were true, it would mean the temple would no longer be able to maintain its influence over the royal family. Prince Theodore continued to talk about how the peace potion made everything easier and mages no longer needed to go to the temple, but he still felt that the blessings from the divine beasts were much better. Ravina had heard the second prince mention divine beasts several times, but she still didn't quite grasp the extent of their differences. The second prince, thinking of the little squirrel, said, "Of course, they're completely different. The blessing that Squirrel first brought was truly unique." Ravina thought the prince's insight was remarkable, worthy of a mage, and that the squirrel was a powerful divine beast that conveyed Duke Medset's magic. The mention of the peace elixir reminded the second prince of the squirrel's blessing, and he longed to experience that feeling again. The second prince and Lady Serpents gazed in the same direction, as if drawn by something. Johann and Eureka entered arm in arm, announced loudly by a servant. Eureka was intrigued by the large crowd. Many noble families were in attendance due to the post-war celebratory banquet, but she sighed, finding it all too ostentatious. She heard people whispering about her. Upon arrival, she overheard the rumors about her being an adopted daughter. She sighed. Since she had tacitly allowed the rumors to spread, she couldn't disappoint them. Eureka decided to act in accordance with the rumors. She looked up at Johann. He was her main concern. Johann, looking at her, asked what was wrong. But as she danced with him, she felt guilty, afraid of damaging his reputation, especially since this was his first banquet. Looking at Johann, Eureka thought that after this, the rumor would become that she had been rejected. Then, she said cheerfully, "I'm still very grateful you agreed to be my partner tonight." Johann, however, was delighted to escort her and felt fortunate to have been chosen. Yet, he still remembered the stern words he had heard before coming. Before the banquet, he had listened to his subordinate's advice. Meeting someone you like doesn't mean the story ends there. If every couple were perfect, why would there be love troubles? He explained to Johann that this was a ball where young nobles gathered in their finest attire, and mentioned the prospect of what Johann would do if someone took an interest in Lady Eureka, as rivals in love often appeared in such places. Johann pondered this. He was so lost in thought that Eureka asked, "Are you all right?" But he was merely thinking, because it was all right, he would be more vigilant while with Eureka. Johann invited Eureka to stand beside him, pulling her closer as he spoke, and took her hand. Someone stood behind them, watching their exchange. It was the second prince, who was sampling wine and had noticed them. It was time for the king's speech praising Johann. The praises continued, but Johann's mind was elsewhere. He had intended to stay by Eureka's side, but now they were separated, and he was irritated by the lengthy speech. Eureka, standing to the side, also found the speech rather long and felt like taking a walk. Hearing the part about Johann's imprisonment, Eureka realized this wasn't a genuine speech praising fighting spirit. Someone behind her noticed her, and they continued to mock her for being an orphan, not a true noble. They criticized her flamboyant dress, told her not to think of herself as real nobility, constantly brought up Duchess Medset, and speculated about the Duchess's situation. Eureka turned and smiled. This was playing right into her hands. She walked away, having been unsure of what to do just moments ago, but now an opportunity had presented itself. She thought to herself that these people would be her bait. Eureka approached the three girls who had been talking about her. She directly asked if they had been talking about her. They inwardly cursed her for eavesdropping and being rude. Eureka calmly retorted, "Isn't it rude of you to gossip so loudly that everyone can hear?" She confidently told them, "You may not realize it, but Count Heliod is captivated by me." Hearing this, the pink-haired girl was taken aback. Eureka continued, sharply belittling them. She said that if she became Countess Heliod, their actions would become problematic. The pink-haired girl, angered by her words, yelled at Eureka, who pretended not to be intimidated. "Your meaningless threats don't scare me," she threatened. Feigning alarm, Eureka purposely spilled wine on her dress. The two people standing together were surprised to see her stained dress. One woman called out to those nearby, while the pink-haired girl continued to berate Eureka. Ravenna approached and greeted them, stepping between the two arguing parties. She scolded them for causing a commotion while His Majesty was speaking. This was exactly the kind of disturbance Eureka had intended to create. Ravenna had come over. She picked up a glass of wine and told them to resolve their issues peacefully. Holding 2 glasses of wine as a gesture of goodwill, she offered one to Eureka. Eureka was quite surprised herself, suspecting something was in the wine, possibly related to the temple. Having already taken a bold step, Eureka didn't want to risk it and subtly refused Lavina's wine glass. Then, changing the subject, she invited Ella Delaire to take it instead. "You will accept Miss Save's reconciliation, won't you, Miss Delaire?" Eureka asked. Ella reluctantly agreed. Eureka felt that was enough. Suddenly, she was startled. At that moment, Prince Theodore approached, smiling gently, and stood behind Eureka, taking her by surprise. Seeing him, Ella Delaire bowed respectfully. "Your Highness, it is an honor to see you." Prince Theodore spoke to them gently. "I understand everyone's excitement for the banquet after a long absence, but we shouldn't cause a scene on such a wonderful day." He then announced to everyone, "Please listen to His Majesty's address." Eureka thought, did the prince intervene personally? Could be he's not just being used by Miss Saves. The second prince turned to her and said, "So, Miss, let's put this matter aside for now." He took the wine glass from her hand. "I'll hold on to this for the time being." Theodore calmly took the glass from Eureka. He remained silent, his expression unreadable, as if deep in thought. Eureka, perplexed, rubbed her wrist, pondering. If he suddenly intervened and even took the wine glass, it was certain that both matters were related. Since the prince had stepped in, there was nothing she could do at this point. She decided to back down for the time being. After some thought, she politely thanked him. "Thank you for mediating, Your Highness. I'll excuse myself." With that, Eureka intended to leave, but Theodore held her hand, stopping her. He gently held her hand and asked, "Miss, what is your name?" Eureka replied, a little apprehensive, "Eureka Midas." She wondered, did he touch me on purpose just now? Theodore smiled warmly and asked, "Haven't we met somewhere before?" Eureka widened her eyes and asked back, "Is that so?" She thought, what a cheap pickup line. Suddenly, the second prince laughed, leaving Eureka both surprised and confused. Then he calmly said to her, "If you don't remember, then let's forget about it." He turned to leave, adding, "Let's talk later." Hearing him say that, Eureka was stunned. What just happened? Wait, could seducing me also be part of their plan? Elsewhere, a prince knelt respectfully before the emperor and bowed. Johann looked in another direction. He gazed intently at Eureka and Theodore walking together, thinking, does the second prince know Eureka? If the prince gets involved, things will become much more complicated. According to the ancient treaty, mages are restricted from using magic on the royal family. Johann observed, carefully considering, if the prince is cooperating with Save's conspiracy, our situation will be extremely unfavorable. I must be absolutely vigilant. A voice rang out, "That this concludes the address. Please enjoy the banquet." The people below applauded excitedly. At that moment, someone's footsteps slowly approached. Hearing him coming closer, Eureka called out, "Johann." She quickly ran over and hugged him. "Eureka." She looked up and said softly, "I missed you so much. I couldn't bear to be apart for even a moment. From now on, you must always stay by my side." Hearing her say this, Johann blushed slightly, thinking shyly, she missed me and wants me to stay by her side. Could this mean she wants to be together forever? Meanwhile, Eureka whispered to him, "Johann, quick, play the role of lovers as planned." Johann seemed to understand. Then he secretly smiled and looked at her with loving eyes. He then extended his arm, wrapped it around her waist, and pulled her into an embrace, gazing at Eureka with affection. "How could I leave such a beautiful person like you?" Johann caressed her face and said emotionally, "After the banquet, I'll fill your room with the most precious jewels to make up for my longing. Every time you see them, you must think of me." Hearing him say this, Eureka felt embarrassed and amazed. What? How can he act so well? It sounds almost real. In the royal palace, everyone danced merrily under the warm lights. Johann and Eureka also danced hand in hand. As the melodious music played, Johann whispered to Eureka while they danced, "Eureka, do you know Prince Theodore?" Hearing this, she replied, "No, this is the first time I've met him." She looked at the second prince and said, "Even so, it's suspicious seeing him approach me with saves." Upon hearing this, Johann also glanced at Prince Theodore, who was dancing with someone, his expression unreadable. He then said seriously to Eureka, "Regardless, I feel uneasy, so try to avoid being alone with him." As he spoke, he tightened his grip around her waist. Eureka looked at him with some surprise and replied, "Okay, I understand. Don't worry too much." As the music ended, the two stopped and faced each other. Johann and Eureka bowed to each other. Johann began, "Eureka, I feel like we're perfectly in sync, even when we dance. I'll do everything in my power to always be by your side, as your partner." Eureka responded with a blissful smile. "Oh my, just hearing that makes me so excited." She thought to herself, Johann, at times like these, he truly is a brilliant actor. Just then, snippets of conversation drifted over. TSK, it seems Duke Harried has completely fallen for her. The whispers grew louder. What tricks did she use to seduce him? The Duke only stays on the battlefield. He probably doesn't know much about the outside world, so he must have been easy prey. They won't last. There are plenty of young ladies in the capital more worthy than her. Johann's face flushed red with anger as he heard these words. "Do you need me to take care of them?" he asked. Eureka-chan eyed him with a smile. "Calm down, Johann." She thought, their influence is truly frightening. But it's all right. If things continue like this, the opportunity to turn the tables will come soon. Suddenly, someone appeared before them, saying, "Excuse me for interrupting your enjoyment of the party, but I have good news to share." It was Prince Theodore and Lady Lavina. Theodore joyfully announced, "I would like to announce my engagement to Lady Lavina of the Sefs family." Lavina smiled gently, looking incredibly happy. The surrounding people murmured amongst themselves, His Highness is engaged. Unlike some people, she looks dignified and noble. They'll be a perfect match. Theodore introduced her. Lady Lavina has experience managing the merchant guild in the East. Those who are interested, please feel free to chat with her. The crowd was astonished. I can't believe someone so young has managed a merchant guild. Then they curiously asked Lavina, what's popular in the East these days? When did you start managing the merchant guild? Lavina enthusiastically replied, haha, I'll answer one by one. Recently, leather goods have become very popular in the East. With a dangerous glint in her eyes, she thought, after the war, high society is a huge source of income. Gather wealth to support the temple and the second prince. If she can become an influential figure in high society, destroying Eureka Medes' reputation will be as easy as pie. If she is cut off from the Medes family, I'll take her to the temple for experiments, and then no one will come looking for her. Then I'll finally know if she really is that squirrel spirit beast. Suddenly, just then, Eureka shouted loudly from behind Johann. Lavina turned to look at her, and the surrounding people were also confused. Miss Medes, what's wrong? Why did you suddenly shout like that? Then she declared loudly, I want to get engaged too. This made Lavina stare at them in surprise. Leaning against Johann, she said loudly, can we get engaged like this? Her words shocked Johann and everyone present, followed by whispers of gossip. Oh my, engaged. Did I hear that right? It's so shameless to demand engagement like that. The Duke surely won't agree, right? Ella Delay, standing to the side, gritted her teeth and said impossible. Even if he contradicts himself sometimes, he wouldn't completely lose his mind. Lavina glared angrily, her thoughts sharp. Miss Medes. Just as she was about to talk business, she stole everyone's attention. She recalled the past, when she wasn't sure, but now it's clear. Biting her nails, her face darkened as she thought, Miss Medes is also wary of me. If I let things continue like this, who knows what she'll do? I must turn the tables again amidst everyone's gossip. Johann raised his voice with a smile. If that's what you want, of course. This further annoyed Lavina. Oh no, too perfect timing. Johann said affectionately to Eureka, or shall we get engaged right here? Eureka, I wouldn't even mind marrying you right away, but you said you didn't want that. The other girls were disappointed upon hearing this. What? They've already talked about marriage. Oh, Miss Laura, impossible. Eureka, nestled in Johann's arms, stammered, not now, Johann, Then she said as loudly as possible, I want to get engaged in a beautiful place, with the ocean in front and a garden behind. The surrounding people were exasperated by this scene. Eureka thought helplessly, did I go too far? Seeing Johann's performance, I got carried away too. What should I do now? Suddenly a shout rang out, engaged. It was Muriel, appearing with strong opposition. No, Eureka. How long have you even known each other? She came over and grabbed Eureka's shoulder, her voice filled with emotion. Didn't you say your ideal type was someone kind and gentle? Eureka was terrified. Sister. She thought to herself, what perfect timing, but can you please calm down? Muriel excitedly tried to persuade Eureka. You're just blinded by the glamour. Please take some more time to think about it. Then she glared at Johann with a look that could kill. I'll find someone more suitable for you. Johann frowned, thinking, this is unnecessary. Eureka began to explain, I think we should follow the proper order. As the younger sister, I shouldn't get engaged before my older sister. Muriel quickly refused Eureka. That's not what I meant. Suddenly, someone behind them spoke. Miss, she's right. He walked over and put his arm around Muriel's shoulder. If you want to fulfill Duke Calyot's wish, we should get engaged as soon as possible. Muriel gasped, Your Highness. It was Prince Raymondlore. The prince gently said to Muriel, it's time to focus on our conversation. We still need to pay our respects to His Majesty. Johann thought uncomfortably to himself, yes, please go. Muriel left, but not before reminding Eureka, Eureka, you must think carefully about this. Eureka waved goodbye to her sister cheerfully. Haha, see you later. She thought happily. Thanks to Muriel, the topic seems to have been successfully diverted. Immediately, the surrounding crowd reacted strongly. What has happened? His Highness the Prince is escorting Miss Medes. It's just a post-war formality, right? But they look very serious about each other. If both Mrs. engagements proceed like this, the Medes family will be connected to both the royal family and the Heliod family. Eureka, seeing their reactions, rejoiced inwardly. Great! This way, the news of Theodore and Lavina's engagement will be completely overshadowed. So, should I call a day here? Afterward, she spoke. Johann, I want something. Could you prepare an engagement gift for me in advance? She asked with a cute expression and sparkling eyes. Johann looked at her and said shyly, so cute, so adorable, cute. Others made disgusted expressions. What does she want this time? It must be something extravagant again. Johann immediately brought his face close, stroking her chin, and said affectionately, anything, as long as it's for you. Eureka thought shyly, Johann, aren't you standing a little too close? Then she said, oh, thank you. Johann asked her, so what do you want? Eureka quickly replied, I heard from my uncle that the recent artificial leather products are very good. Hearing this, Lavina fell silent and glanced at them. No way. She continued, they can be made almost identical to real leather, and they don't harm animals. Besides, isn't there a legend that the founder of Metasthai was a beast man? So I can't use leather goods that harm animals. Hearing this, the two men around fell silent in frustration. Eureka began to exclaim, it's so great that there are alternatives. The nearby crowd murmured, she's often called cold and arrogant, but maybe she's not like that. Doesn't that mean that I, who use leather goods, am worse than the Mississippi? Eureka, hearing them say this, felt satisfied. Got it. But isn't the quality of artificial leather still inferior? At that moment, someone appeared and said, that's all old news. Jaden Albert appeared holding a pair of gloves. Nowadays, artificial leather products are of excellent quality. Eureka was surprised. Uncle Jaden. Jaden continued, these are gloves made of artificial leather. They're almost indistinguishable from real leather, right? The crowd seemed convinced. Oh wow, it's true. They look exactly like real leather. If Count Albert says so, it must be true. Lavina and Theodore witnessed everything, dumbfounded. Theodore asked indifferently, how much leather stock do we have? Lavina replied, we've bought up all the leather in the East. He then smiled, his expression unreadable. It seems we won't be able to sell anything on our side from now on. Jaden and Eureka were still excitedly introducing the gloves. A while later, Johann stood quietly outside the door. Inside, Jaden was chatting pleasantly with Eureka. He said, how was it? Was that move reasonable? Eureka replied, yes, perfect. She thought with satisfaction. Everything went as I expected. After hearing from the History Guild that the Sefs family had purchased a large quantity of leather goods, I asked my uncle to prepare artificial leather items. Although my uncle's business is in the East, and he's not a major noble in the capital, he is a successful and famous businessman who has run many successful business ventures. He has enough influence to sway public opinion, no matter what he says. So, the plan to make a huge profit and then use that wealth to dominate high society and target me, it's all gone down the drain. Humph! Eureka wore a triumphant expression, deeply satisfied. Whatever she plans next, I won't just sit back and watch. Suddenly, Jaden called out to her, by the way, Eureka, don't let other people's opinions affect you too much. Outsiders may say a lot, but it's all just baseless gossip from people who don't know you. It'll die down soon. His words stunned Eureka. She called out, Uncle. She smiled calmly and said, but they're not entirely wrong. I mean, I'm lucky. That's a fact. Jaden said worriedly, Eureka, that matter. She continued, and it's also true that I'm standing in someone else's place. As if realizing her mistake, she was startled. I'm so terrible. Even though I knew it was a rumor deliberately spread by the Sefs family, I still took it out on Uncle. Then Jaden spoke. Eureka. He said seriously, we called you Eureka for Miss Sienna's convenience, but we never thought of you as just a replacement. We love you because you are you. So, if you want, just say the word. Should I use a different name? Another name? Yes, someday, the name Eureka will have to be returned to its rightful owner. Perhaps this is a chance to have a name that truly belongs to me. Jaden looked at her thoughtfully. After a moment, she said, thank you for the suggestion, Uncle. I'll consider it. Suddenly, someone entered calling, Eureka. She turned and saw it was Johann. Have you been waiting long? He replied, not at all. How was your conversation with the Count? He left in tears. It turned out that after speaking with her, Johann had run into Count Jaden, leaving the room, crying. The Count had said to him, please excuse me, I must take my leave. Eureka was surprised. Oh, the words the Count had said to her while crying immediately came to mind. Don't think too much about it. Seeing you in pain makes my heart ache. Honestly, he's the softest-hearted person. But to reassure Johann, Eureka said something different with a smile. Perhaps you saw wrong. He's not the type to suddenly burst into tears. He replied, I suppose you're right. Standing next to Johann, she suddenly noticed something. Johann said, it seems the banquet is almost over. Eureka replied, Yes, everything went more smoothly than expected. That's good. And by now, all the talk about the second prince will be completely overshadowed, right? As she spoke, she imagined everyone talking about her and him. A boy and a girl alone in a private room. How scandalous. She said, high society is watching our every move. You worked hard today. Oh, and your acting was great. Johan replied. She continued, yes, anyone who saw us would believe we were a real couple. As she said this, she recalled the scene. Thinking back, she laughed. It didn't look like acting at all. It felt very real. Even I almost fell for it. When Johan remained silent, unsure of what to say, he said, acting? That wasn't acting. Suddenly, a cold breeze blew, making Eureka shiver. The wind is so cold. So she completely missed what Johan had said. Surprised, she asked, what did you just say? Johan took off his coat and draped it over her. She was surprised by his thoughtful gesture. He said, I said I'm glad I could help you. But in his heart, he thought, Eureka, what you felt, that wasn't acting. Every word I said to you today was true. If I told you that, would you try to run away? Then Johan said, are you cold? Let's go inside. At this, Eureka's cheeks flushed, and she shyly replied, okay. Eureka suddenly looked towards something. Wait, I hear something. She looked down, her eyes widening in surprise. It was Prince Theodore and Lady Ceviche. She discreetly moved closer to Johan, making him blush. Eureka whispered, it's the second prince and Lady Ceviche. Why are they sneaking out before the banquet ends? Yes, while we're busy creating rumors, what good does it do for them to be involved in these scandals? This is our chance. We can find out what they're plotting. But Johan looked a little worried. He said, Eureka, haven't you thought about it? She replied, of course I have. I'll use the method we discussed. The scene changed to a room somewhere. Eureka's red dress was placed on the sofa. Johan asked her, are you sure you want to do this? They might recognize you. Stay out of the moonlight. Use the bushes for cover. And if anything happens, call me immediately. By now, Eureka had transformed into a small squirrel. Although she could only make a chirp sound, her meaning was clear. Okay. She continued to express, avoid the moonlight. Use the trees. Call you if anything happens. I know. You keep repeating it. I'll be careful. Johan looked at her with an affectionate gaze and then said, I'm sorry I can't go with you. I'll wait for you here. With that, he gently kissed her cheek. Don't forget that I'm waiting for you here. Hearing these words, Eureka smiled gently. Be careful, Eureka, Johan said. The scene changed. Second Prince Theodore and Lady Ceviche were standing on a balcony outside a room, talking. Why is he always so stubborn? Lady Ceviche thought. They had both agreed to talk about this later, as there were too many eyes watching. Then she said, so, what did you want to discuss, Your Highness? Prince Theodore answered directly. Eureka Medist. Ceviche flinched slightly at the name. He continued, the adopted daughter of the Midas family. You requested help to get rid of her because she was interfering with the temple's work, correct? Ceviche replied, yes. That's right, he said flatly. The problem is, why does that girl give off a similar feeling to the squirrel spirit I glimpsed before? Ceviche froze. What? So the spirit that was sent to Elrid actually survived and returned to the Midas family. Prince Theodore continued. From the moment I received the first complaint, I've already requested the temple to return that squirrel. I never felt that level of excitement again. But the temple ignored my request and sold the divine beast to a mage. And when I tried to get it back, they told me it was dead. He said, stepping closer to her. But, Lavina, what if it's still alive? What if that fake girl is actually the real Eureka Medist, the missing daughter of the Medist family, the one taken by the temple? The scene shifts to a view looking up from under a tree. Someone is standing there, witnessing and hearing the entire conversation. It's Eureka, hiding behind a branch, frozen stiff. She thinks to herself, what is this? She can't believe what she just heard. I'm the real Eureka Medist. Could the divine beast second Prince Theodore mentioned actually be a direct descendant of the Medist family? Miss Cephis is speechless. He threatens, you better tell the truth. If you lie, our cooperation ends here. She thinks to herself fearfully, what should I do now? If I reveal the truth, His Highness will know too many of the temple's secrets. But if I stop cooperating now, all ties with the royal family will be severed. That would be worse. Second Prince Theodore contemplates, waiting for her answer. Finally, she has to admit, Your Highness's suspicions are correct. However, we haven't confirmed whether that fake princess is truly that squirrel divine beast. Thanks to you, it's confirmed now. The mage's memory purification is extremely accurate. Prince Theodore chuckles lightly and replies, Indeed, I can't take my eyes off her. But his gaze sharpens. How could a divine beast turn into a human? Divine beasts usually don't have a strong desire to take human form. At this moment, Eureka starts to recall. Now that he mentions it, ever since I woke up in this form, I have been thinking about becoming human. Perhaps because I was cursed, that desire is even stronger, as if someone desperately wanted me to become human. Suddenly, a thought flashes through the second prince's mind. Could this have something to do with Duke Medist also being at the temple right now? Eureka is startled, thinking what? Cephis replies, It's highly possible. Perhaps she didn't intend to transform from the beginning, but when Duke Medist's mana was transferred in to test the purification ability, her subconscious seems to have been awakened. Theodore asks, Subconscious? Cephis replies, Yes, her subconscious as a human. The other experiments were all accurate. The only variable was the transfer of Duke Medist's mana. This is why the current Eureka Medist is a very dangerous existence. We don't know how much she remembers. As she speaks, Cephis recalls everything that happened at the banquet. She says, Even now, look at her, she's been interfering with everything we do. Hasn't she? If we leave her alone, she will become a major threat to the temple. Prince Theodore agrees. That's true. But is it possible she remembers? Cephis is somewhat surprised. What? He continues. She seems close to Johann Allard. If, while purifying him, she remembered my purification, could she recognize me? Cephis is starting to get impatient with the prince in front of her. Is that really the point right now? How stupid. She's annoyed by his rambling about meaningless things. She continues, I can't give you a definite answer now, but I think we'll find out soon enough, won't we? The second prince replies, I'm fine. We'll have to come up with a different plan this time. She completely defeated us today. Do you have any other plans? Cephis thinks for a moment, then replies, We plan to transfer mana again, to conduct an experiment that distorts Eureka Medist's perception of time. We'll rewind her time to its original state, allowing her to live as an obedient divine beast without memories. Prince Theodore asks curiously, I'm curious, why are you so obsessed with transforming the Medist family's divine beast? You could just deal with the Duke now, couldn't you? Because that's the most fitting fate for a monster like Medist. Her face turns grim. The second prince ponders for a moment. Then he says, Now we're truly in the same boat. There's no other choice. If this experiment is successful, make sure to hand over the divine beast to me. Eureka hears every word. At this moment, Johann is waiting for her at the door. He's startled. He sees Eureka run straight into the room. He's a bit flustered, but calmly says, I'm glad you're back safely. Did anything happen, Eureka? She has her back to him. Her back looks sorrowful. He asks worriedly, Eureka, what's wrong? She remains silent. Eureka thinks to herself, I still can't believe it. This body I'm inhabiting is the real Eureka's body. The Duke's disappearance, the Medist family's kidnapping, it was all orchestrated by the temple. If I hadn't successfully transformed into a human, my family would never have known the truth. And now, they're all so precious to me. Those bastards at the temple. What did the Medist family ever do to deserve this? She covered her face and cried. Suddenly, Johann draped a blanket over her. It's cold out here, Eureka. It seems something happened, but if it's unpleasant, you don't have to say anything. You know, waiting for you here reminds me of the past. Back then, every night in the tower, I waited desperately for you like this. I was so worried, wondering what I would do if something happened. If something happened and I couldn't see you again. At first, I told myself I was only doing it to soothe your magic, but at some point, it became more than that. I started waiting for you, simply because it was you. Whether you're Eureka, Momo, or Cumin, you yourself are precious to me. It's because of you that I can endure everything. So I'm glad you returned safely today. Johann spoke with affectionate eyes. Eureka was moved. She replied softly, Me too. She swallowed, thinking I want to tell him the same thing. Enduring all this would be so much harder if I were alone. At that moment, her hands began to glow. She was about to revert to her true form. She thought, having him by my side gives me so much strength. When Johann saw her revealing her true self, he blushed, as Eureka was only wearing the blanket he had just given her. He exclaimed, Eureka! She thought, I'm grateful for everything, grateful for our reunion, and grateful that he still helps me. She gently raised her hands as if to embrace him. She rushed forward and hugged him, thanking him for everything he had done. Johann. She held him tightly. He was both happy and shy. His face flushed crimson. Then he happily hugged her back. Eureka and Johann went to the banquet together. Recalling when Eureka thanked him, "Johann, thank you. It was hard to put on by myself." Johann's face suddenly turned red. Those who saw it gossiped. Such a sly little devil at such a young age. His face is so red. Eureka asked worriedly, "Johann, are you all right? Your face is all red." Johann quickly turned his face away. "No, I just feel like such a klutz. It's nothing, Eureka. Let's go." Lavina peeked at Eureka and Johann. So she's Eureka Medist. She really is clever, just like her father. But she wouldn't dream that she's not the real Eureka. She seems like someone with a strong sense of self-esteem, which will make her easier to manipulate than ever. The banquet began, and Eureka saw Muriel from afar and called out, "Sister." Muriel was startled. "Eureka, I'm not feeling very well, so I asked to go back first." Eureka had heard too many shocking things today, so she was also exhausted. Muriel hurriedly asked, "What's wrong? Should we go to the clinic?" Jaden ran over and said, "Are you okay, Eureka? Should I go with you?" Eureka looked at the two of them. Oh no. Seeing them so worried about her made her want to cry even more. "Please don't worry." Johann held Eureka's hand. "I'll escort Eureka back to the mansion." Eureka politely bid farewell to everyone. "I'll go back and rest first. Please enjoy yourselves, everyone. Then I'll entrust her to you, Duke Allard." "Eureka, we'll be back soon." Eureka and Johann quietly left the banquet. Eureka really doesn't look well. Maybe you should have gone with her. With these strange rumors spreading around, she must be feeling very uncomfortable. Even though Eureka said she's fine, we shouldn't let those rumors spread. Prince Raymond suggested, "If you two are so worried, why don't you prepare a surprise gift for her?" A gift. Everyone is talking about whether the young lady is real or not, but this will prove the family's value for her. That's a wonderful idea. Thank you for your suggestion, Your Highness, but how will she know? Don't worry, Muriel. Whatever it is, we'll buy it. I'll fund everything. Muriel said admiringly, "Uncle, you're so great. So what kind of gift should we splurge on?" There's a legend that the Metis family's ancestor was an orc, so how about getting her something symbolic? Something related to orcs, like a squirrel statue. Muriel said in surprise, "A squirrel. Why a squirrel? Doesn't she like squirrels?" I just remember seeing an illustration of a squirrel in a book in the section about the Metis family. Muriel asked, puzzled, the section about the Metis family. "What was the name of that book, Your Highness?" Raymond continued, "It's a book that's not allowed to be taken out of the Emperor's private library, but it's called The Curse of Noble Families." The Curse of Noble Families. Eureka seems to have mentioned something similar, right? Even though I can't use magic at all. Muriel remembered Eureka absorbing her magic once. Eureka possesses truly extraordinary magic. She said she's able to maintain her human form thanks to Muriel's magic. Muriel had always thought the stories about the orcs were just legends, so she'd never really paid attention. But now that she thought about it, books on the subject were strangely missing. Seeing Muriel's distraction, Jaden whispered, "Muriel, we don't have time for this. Focus. Forget the squirrel for now. Let's plan an event for Eureka." Muriel replied, "Understand, Uncle. The Medist family curse, the squirrel, and Eureka." Muriel still couldn't understand, feeling like all these things were somehow connected. She thought she should go back and thoroughly investigate the matter. The next day at noon, in Eureka's room, she was dozing when the sunlight streaming and woke her. "It's so bright." Then she heard her mother ask, "Eureka, did you sleep well?" Startled, she sat up. "Mother." Her mother said softly, "You slept until noon. You must be tired. Did you enjoy the banquet yesterday?" Looking at her mother, Eureka always felt like she was her real mother, and it wasn't just a feeling. Her mother hadn't mistaken her for anyone due to some illusion. She had recognized her real daughter from the very beginning. Until now, deep down, she had still kept her distance from her family because she was merely inhabiting this body, not the real Eureka. She was afraid of getting hurt when the real Eureka appeared, when she would have to leave. But now, she wouldn't separate herself from Eureka anymore. She would live as the real Eureka, even if she was taking her place. So from now on, she wouldn't have to feel guilty every time she called her mother. Eureka hugged her mother. "Mother." Her mother happily embraced Eureka and gently stroked her head. "Good girl. It's such a nice day. How about we have tea with Muriel and Jaden?" Muriel said excitedly, "That would be wonderful. I'll go tell my sister and uncle myself." Eureka, too, wanted to see them soon. Eureka wanted to tell everyone as soon as possible that she was the real Eureka. Just as she reached the hall, "Why is it so noisy outside? Did someone arrive?" She suddenly recognized someone. How is that possible? That person is. An unfamiliar girl appeared before her. Hello. Muriel stared at the unfamiliar girl with wide eyes. She walked in and said, I heard everyone was looking for their lost daughter, so I came. Everyone murmured, the lost daughter. She says she's the real second miss. I used to work at Baron Verini's mansion. The Baroness told me about this, so I came. She said I looked a lot like the Miss Eureka she met at the banquet, so she asked me to come here. Leaning against the wall, Eureka I thought the temple would attack me again, but I didn't expect them to be so cruel. If I didn't know I was the real one, I would definitely be shaken by this. But the timing is really bad. Muriel doesn't know the truth yet. What if she believes her? Muriel gently asked the girl, what should I call you? The girl was taken aback. What? Muriel continued, you must have had a name before, right? Eureka, watching Muriel's expression, was quite surprised. What's wrong? Muriel's reaction is completely calm, even cold. Just call me Lizzie. Jaden came out from inside. Muriel, who's here? Someone named Lizzie. She worked at Baron Verini's mansion. She claims to be Eureka. Lizzie's eyes glittered. Excuse me, I brought this. I hope it helps. When the Baroness adopted me, I was told this was the dress I was wearing at the time. Jaden looked at the dress and suddenly remembered something. I was on duty that day. I remember it clearly. This is the dress Eureka wore to the baptism ceremony. This embroidery was definitely done by her older sister. Jaden said with certainty, this is really Eureka's dress. Oh my, then she really is the real second miss. Muriel spoke up. Children's clothes are easy to forge. We can't be sure yet. Besides, everyone in the Empire knows that our second miss has been missing for a while. For someone to suddenly appear at this time, I'm sorry to say this in front of you. Lizzie replied, it's all right, miss. Muriel invited Lizzie to the living room to talk. It's too noisy here. Let's talk in the living room. Seeing the maid ask, Miss, are you all right? Eureka gestured for her to whisper. That dress seems to be real. This scheme is truly insidious. I don't have any proof that I'm the real one, so no matter what I say, I'll just sound like a delusional imposter. But the fact that they even used a child's dress means the temple must be desperate. If this is turned into evidence of kidnapping, they won't escape punishment. Before leaving, Eureka instructed the maid, I'm going upstairs. Don't tell anyone I saw this, okay? Eureka wanted to see what they would do next. While leading Lizzie into the living room, Jaden glanced surreptitiously at Muriel. Muriel's unexpectedly calm reaction. Was it because she, like him, was worried about Eureka? Come to think of it, how is our Eureka doing now? Just then, Mother came out of the room. Muriel, oh, and this young lady is. Muriel, worried that her mother would mistake Lizzie for Eureka and faint again like last time, hurriedly said, wait, Mother, this is... Seeing the dress in Lizzie's hands, she interrupted Muriel. Impossible. Oh, thank goodness, I thought I'd lost it forever. I never thought I'd find it this way. Lizzie, thinking her mother recognized her, was overjoyed. She recognizes me. Thank you, Miss, for finding our Eureka's dress. Hearing this, Lizzie's smile disappeared and her eyes grew sad. Sister, do you remember this dress? Of course. This is the dress our Eureka wore on her baptism day. I even embroidered this part myself. Finding our Eureka is more important, of course, but this dress is also very meaningful. I must reward you handsomely. Lizzie clutched the dress tightly. Madam, this is the dress I wore as a child. She says she wore this dress. Yes, that means I'm the real second Mississippi. No matter what Lizzie said, she continued coldly. Then you must be a thief who stole our Eureka's things. Did you come here to steal more things? Lizzie was shocked. What? Seeing the tense atmosphere, Jaden quickly stopped them. Let's go to the living room first. Wait, Jaden, how can you let that thief into our house? Muriel then held her mother's hand. Mother, please calm down. I'll talk to her privately. Yes, Muriel, it's best to get her out before she steals anything else. At this moment, Eureka was in a bad mood. She walked while pondering. The atmosphere was truly tense. She had the servants prepare some tea. If I didn't know anything, I might have left the mansion to escape this tense atmosphere. I need to rest and think about what to do next. As soon as she opened the door, Eureka was stunned. Miss Muriel and Master Jaden decorated this themselves. They were busy until early this morning. Hearing this, Eureka was shocked. Sister and uncle, they made this themselves. Usually after a banquet, people give gifts to those they want to get closer to, but I didn't expect to receive something like this. Eureka opened the letter and read, Eureka, you were truly radiant at yesterday's banquet. We are already close, but let's become even closer. I've always been grateful to you. You are our precious family member. Never forget your family, and I will always be by your side. Reading the short but touching words in the letter, Eureka couldn't help but shed tears. Honestly, even if I really am an imposter, I don't want to leave. To think that they would take advantage of such a kind family's good intentions and even send another imposter. I'll never forgive them. Muriel stood in front of Eureka's door and called out, "Eureka, it's me. I have something I want to talk to you about. Can I come in?" Eureka quickly wiped her tears and invited Muriel in. "Yes, please come in. I have something to tell you as well." As they sat down for tea, Muriel spoke to Eureka. "Eureka, you must have heard about Miss Lizzie, right? You must be troubled, right? The atmosphere in the mansion is unstable." Eureka quickly replied, "No, it's okay, sister. I'm Euphina. I was planning to reveal that I'm the real. But at this time, if I speak up now, it'll be no different from grabbing the position to avoid being kicked out, and I don't have any proof. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bother you with these unnecessary worries. Actually, I came to you for another reason." Eureka was puzzled. "Another reason? I heard about this from His Highness the Prince yesterday, in the Royal Secret Library. He said he saw a book that records the weaknesses of noble families. A book that records the weaknesses of nobles." This was the first time Eureka had heard of such a thing. Eureka then thought, "Is that library deep within the royal palace?" Muriel continued, "Yes, and there's a record about the Midford family curse in the book. On that page, there's a drawing of Squirrel. Legend has it that the ancestor of the Midford family was a beast man, and you've also said that I have strong magic power within me. Considering all these things, I can't help but wonder if our family is hiding some secret. And if that secret is also related to you, perhaps our relationship is closer than we think. Of course, I don't have any logical evidence for this, but I just have this feeling. Compared to that Miss Lizzie who suddenly appeared claiming to be the real one, I feel that you. Perhaps it's out of emotion, but honestly, I really feel that way." Hearing what Muriel just said, Eureka felt that they were the same. Just like how Mother believed in me without any evidence. No matter the circumstances, Muriel always puts me first. Because we're family, I'm certain they'll believe me. Eureka said shyly, I also have something I want to tell you." Eureka pondered silently, while Muriel continued to look at her expectantly. Seeing the tears rolling down Eureka's cheeks, Muriel's own eyes welled up. She quickly moved closer to Eureka and embraced her tightly. "Those damned bastards. How could they do such a thing in the temple? They deserve to be eaten by tigers. It's horrific. It's unforgivable. Eureka, you must have suffered so much. I'm so sorry I didn't recognize you sooner." "No, it's okay," Eureka replied. "I didn't have any proof anyway. But, do you really believe me?" Muriel continued, "Of course. Mother must have recognized you for a reason." Eureka smiled happily. "Thank you for believing me. Thinking back, even when I was a squirrel, they could all understand me. Is it because we're truly family? My real family. I'll protect them at all costs. After rescuing Father, I'll expose everything. I'll make the temple pay for their crimes. Sister, I have a plan. This is the perfect opportunity to expose Lizzie as a fake and even track down the mastermind behind her. Will you help me?" Muriel looked at Eureka. "Of course. The real second daughter of the Duke of Midst is back. Her name is Lizzie Estany, and she used to be a maid at Baron Verini's estate. Is that true? I heard that the maid brought the baby clothes she wore as a child, and the Duke's family even gave her a very nice room. So now it seems the adopted daughter from the orphanage. That is causing trouble." Lizzie fell to the floor. A servant cried out worriedly, "Oh my goodness, Miss Lizzie." It's okay. I'll say I tripped myself." Eureka still didn't understand what Lizzie was saying. What is she even talking about? Did she really trip herself? What's going on? Could it be Miss Eureka? Hearing those hurtful words, Eureka quietly left. Watching the pitiful Eureka, Lizzie was very satisfied. That night, at the Duke's mansion, Eureka sat sadly reading a book. Suddenly, the sound of crying came from outside the window, preventing her from concentrating on her book. What's that sound? Why would there be crying in the middle of the night? Everyone's gathered here. What happened? A servant rushed in to report. "Miss, the baby clothes that Miss Lizzie brought suddenly disappeared. We found them in the flower bed, like this." Those were the only proof that could help her confirm that her real family. Eureka looked at the clothes. Those clothes. Before I could use them as evidence. I was planning to get them back since they were mine to begin with. Did they really have to go this far? Lizzie sobbed, accusing Eureka. "Miss, you often walk this way, right? I can't believe you would do such a thing just because you don't like me. This is too much. Miss Lizzie, you shouldn't make such accusations without proof." Seeing the way everyone looked at her, as if she were the culprit, those looks were clearly different from before. Eureka felt sorry for her family, but in this situation, she couldn't stay any longer. The next morning, at Johann's residence, A carriage brought Eureka here early in the morning. Hearing that Eureka had arrived, Johann hurried downstairs to greet her. Eureka, why are you? Eureka smiled. I ran away from home, so I wanted to stay here for a few days. Is that all right? Ran away from home, right? Judging by his expression, he seemed genuinely surprised. I figured it would be shocking. I had to pretend I left the Duke's mansion in a fit of anger because of Lizzie, so I couldn't contact him beforehand. No matter how close we are, it must have been a bit rude of me to do this. Eureka said politely, I'm sorry to barge in like this, Johann. I had to leave in a hurry because of some things. I won't stay long, just a few days. A few days. Stay as long as you like. You can stay forever. I can give you any room in Allard. Eureka replied, thank you for saying that, Johann. I mean it. Is that really our Duke? Maybe I should retire. Seriously, who is that person? Eating with Johann, Eureka felt incredibly happy. It had been a long time since she'd had a meal here. This was also where she first met her sister, a place filled with memories. So it felt strange. Johann spoke. To be honest, before you came, I was considering barging into the midst household myself. I held back, thinking you might have your own plan. I can deal with a fraud like her anytime. With the capital buzzing, it was impossible for Johann not to have heard about Lizzie. He must have known that she even brought the baby clothes she wore when she was kidnapped, yet he still believed her. Eureka looked at Johann and asked, didn't you ever think I might be an imposter? What if everything I said in the carriage at the last banquet was a lie? What if I fabricated what Lavina and the second prince said just so I could stay at Midas? Eureka thought, maybe he only accepted me because of our past relationship and felt he had no other choice. What if this situation makes him uncomfortable, but he's too kind to turn me away? I'll believe whatever you say. I've told you before, you're truly precious, so don't say things that hurt yourself. If you feel guilty for being a burden, don't think that way. I've been waiting for the day you and I could be together. Like now, thinking back when she was at Hale, she and Johann always had to meet in secret, and even their goodbyes were always rushed. She never imagined a day like this would come. Eureka said shyly, thank you, Johann. But, was it really Muriel Metis who kicked you out? If not, then there's no reason for you to cower like this. You called them family, but they didn't recognize you and kick you out. It must have been like that, right? Johann completely misunderstood the situation, and Eureka quickly explained, no, that's not it, actually. My sister and I had a plan, but to succeed, I needed to leave the Midas territory first. Once I was out, I needed a safe place to stay. And the only place I could think of was Elrid, where you are. Johann felt a surge of joy at her words. Her only safe place is with me. That's a fantastic idea. Trust me, Eureka, I'll protect you always. Eureka continued, right, Johann? Could I ask you one more favor? I left in such a hurry that I didn't bring any luggage. Could you lend me some clothes? Even a maid's uniform would be fine. I'll definitely repay you later. Johann was silent for a moment before saying, I wasn't planning on showing you this, but seeing you so guilty makes me feel bad too. Johann immediately took Eureka there. Eureka was stunned. This is luxurious women's clothing. Johann continued, Eureka, whenever you come, however you come, I'll always be ready to welcome you. A luxurious squirrel's nest. So, do you feel a little more at ease now? Eureka thought to herself, at this rate, I might end up living here forever. There's really no need to go this far. She insisted on staying in Miss Eureka's room, no matter how much we tried to persuade her otherwise. She left anyway. She must have a lot of pride. Honestly, if it were me, I would never leave a house like this. And I'm sure I was a bit annoying, but enough to make her leave in anger. Every time I pretended to trip, she would step on my foot, and every time she passed by, she would bump my shoulder. Was she really treated that badly? Well, it doesn't matter now that she's gone. So I want to give this place to you too. Lizzie, seeing this strange sight, asked curiously, this place is... Muriel continued, Eureka's garden, right next to Muriel's garden. Father built them, thinking his daughters might need some private space. Eureka always wanted this place, but since she's not here, I'm secretly giving it to you. From now on, let's get along. Yes, sister. Then I won't hold back from now on. I'll be your little sister. I'll get used to it slowly. Damn, how much space did that woman occupy in this place? The Duchess is always wary of me, and that guy called Uncle pretends to care, but still doesn't acknowledge me as the real one. Is it because I haven't been here long? But looking at all this, it feels like they'll come to like me soon. And Muriel is notoriously weak, which makes her easier to deceive. The temple sent me back because they'd already driven Eureka away. A kind and gentle sister, an extremely wealthy uncle, countless jewels, and a luxurious room. If I can get them to acknowledge me as the real one, I can have all of this, right? Possibly even Duke Elred. I can't let things end like this. I need to find something I can use to negotiate and get the temple's approval. I will become the real Eureka Medist at Second Prince Theodore's residence. When he heard the report of Eureka being at Johann's house, Theodore was stunned. What? Second Prince Theodore's subordinate explained in confusion. It's because of that girl claiming to be the second daughter. It seems she ran off to her lover's house because she couldn't control her anger. Theodore was furious, thinking to himself, Lavina, did you think I cooperated with your plan just to create this mess? Afterward, he ordered his subordinate, send a letter to Duke Elred immediately. This surprised him. A letter, Theodore said in a stern tone, inform them that I will be visiting soon. Seeing the changes, Eureka and Johann were taking a walk in the garden. She thought, come to think of it, I spent most of my time here as a squirrel. Aside from the change in servants, it doesn't seem much different from before. Except for one major change, the master of this mansion. Eureka reminisced, back then, I never thought I'd be able to walk side by side with Johann. Lost in thought, she quietly turned to him and asked Johann, you're not in as much pain as you used to be, are you? Her sudden question startled him. He replied gently, oh, I'm fine. I still have some of the tranquilizers I brought back from the battlefield. It's the only thing that helps me stay calm. As he spoke, he took her hand. This surprised her, and she blushed, unsure of what he meant. He continued, although it's weaker than when you were in your divine beast form, I can still feel a bit of calmness. Eureka's face flushed crimson, and she stammered, why you can stay calm even in human form. That's amazing. Suddenly, something clicked. Could it be? Is that why Theodore recognized me as a divine beast the moment our hands touched? But the books about divine beasts say that more intimate physical contact is required for a strong calming effect. Johann said, actually the effect from this level of contact is very small. Eureka replied, I know, he continued. Actually, I haven't been using the tranquilizers lately. Maybe that's why I feel this way. She explained in a panic, what? Why haven't you been using them? He looked at her silently, his gaze full of affection. He was truly happy that she was worried about him. Eureka thought to herself, the tranquilizers are made by the temple. After all, Johann is completely on my side now, so the temple might want to get rid of him. The easiest way to get rid of him would be to add something to the tranquilizers and then distribute them to Elred. She pulled her hand back, her voice cold. So in the end, it's all because of me. Johann said worriedly, don't think that way, Eureka. I was planning to destroy the temple as soon as the war was over anyway. They tried to use those horrible drugs on me. I wasn't planning on relying on those guys for the rest of my life. I'll never forget what they did to me. His eyes sharpened as he mentioned the temple, but softened again when he looked at her. Eureka was incredibly worried about him. He gently stroked her hair and said, of course, I'll also never forget what you did for me. I still remember vividly the first time you calmed me. That's why I kept thinking about it on the battlefield. He thought to himself, I'll never let you go. He silently looked at Eureka before him. She called his name, Johann. He said, anyway, I'm fine, Eureka. Maybe it's because I've fully grown up now, so I'm not in as much pain as I was when I was young. She still couldn't be reassured. Even so, from now on, as long as we're together, I'll help you calm down, and I'll do my best to help Elred win. You don't have the right to refuse. Hearing her say this, his eyes filled with happiness. He replied softly, then, I'll leave it to you, Eureka. A rustling sound came from the nearby bushes. It was Elred's maids. One maid whispered, didn't they say that fake noble was a vixen? The maid next to her whispered back, yeah, I heard that too. But clearly, our Duke is the real fox. They thought this because they had overheard the two's conversation. Johann asked, so, can I hold your hand while we walk? Eureka calmly replied, of course, hold it. The maids continued to whisper, no matter how you look at it. The one trying to make a good impression here is the Duke. I feel like an innocent girl has wandered into the den of a dangerous beast. It seems the rumors were exaggerated. There shouldn't be any problems. Eureka suddenly saw something familiar and asked, this swing is still here. Johann replied, swing. She said, yeah, back then, Tyson was very fond of me. He often pushed me on the swing. Johann fruse. A murderous aura emanated from him. So this swing is full of memories with Tyson. While Eureka wasn't looking, he cast a spell, and the swing snapped in two. The maids standing in the distance froze. Eureka turned and asked him, did you hear something? To distract her, he pointed in another direction. It's just some repairs going on in the garden. Let's go that way. Still blissfully unaware, she said cheerfully, and whenever guests came, Tyson would bring them here to show me off. As soon as Eureka turned around, the chair was destroyed by Johann's magic. The maids witnessed the scene again, so they were a little scared. Still oblivious, Eureka continued to tell Johann, "That statue, Tyson used to make fun of it, saying it looked just like me. And so the statue went flying as well." She continued to chatter happily. "This hazelnut tree is where Tyson had the servants pick hazelnuts for me." She hadn't stopped talking about her memories with Tyson. "And here is where Tyson—" The continuous sounds of destruction echoed. The maids were terrified. They thought, "Oh no, if the Duke and that person can't be together, it will be a disaster. Who will make sure nothing goes wrong between them?" Just then, Eureka and Johann stopped in their tracks. An uninvited guest appeared before them, the second prince, Theodore. He said, "Miss Midas, I never thought I'd see you here." Eureka replied, "Greetings, Your Highness. What brings you to the Duke Alarad's estate?" Johann, standing behind her, was surprised, thinking, "Why is it you?" The second prince slowly approached her and said, "Actually, I came to see you, Miss Midas. You left quite an impression on me at the banquet." Johann's expression darkened. "I'm afraid that's not something you should say in front of her lover." The second prince replied, "It was merely a polite remark." "Why so defensive?" "Miss Midas, if you find his company so unpleasant, you are welcome to come to the royal palace." She politely declined. "If I were to stay as your highness's guest, your fiancé would surely be displeased." Theodore mused. "Fiancé? That is currently the case, yes. But that engagement is a sham anyway, just like your fake lover relationship." Johann was stunned by these words. So was Eureka. She was shocked that he so bluntly revealed the falsehood of their engagement. Despite revealing such a large secret, Theodore's face remained calm, even with a hint of smugness. Johann immediately pulled Eureka closer, embracing her protectively, his voice icy. "I don't understand what you're talking about. Why would we pretend to be lovers?" Johann's gaze sharpened. Theodore thought to himself, "This man, according to Eureka, is a mage. For some reason, he has been making things difficult for me from the start, and I don't like the way he clings to Eureka." Johann made his displeasure clear. "You are being incredibly rude. If you have nothing else to say, please leave." The second prince gave a calculating smile. "So, you want to play this game? Then prove it to me. Kiss each other." The atmosphere instantly froze. Eureka inwardly fumed. "This lunatic, who does he think he is, demanding a kiss here?" Theodore taunted, "See, you can't do it." Eureka grew angrier with each passing moment. "Even if we were a real couple, why should we kiss in front of you?" But Theodore wasn't finished. He leaned closer to Eureka, saying, "Besides, if you need the title of a fake lover, wouldn't being the prince's fiancé be more useful than being with a war hero with no political background?" As he spoke, he lightly touched her, instantly making Eureka uncomfortable. Johann couldn't stand it any longer. He immediately swatted Theodore's hand away, his voice low and menacing. "Oh, would it really be useful? I won't let the prince live long enough to find out." Magical light flickered in Johann's eyes, and a strong killing intent emanated from him. Eureka, standing beside him, was extremely worried. She thought, Johann's magic power is fluctuating. If this continues, things will get out of control. So she spoke up. "Regardless, I don't understand why you have this misunderstanding, but Johann and I are truly lovers. And to prove it with a kiss, isn't that ridiculous?" As she spoke, she gently interlaced her fingers with Johann's. If they wanted to, they could easily pretend. Her proactive move immediately made Johann blush. "Of course, everything between Johann and I is real." She smiled tenderly and gently kissed Johann's hand. Johann's face was now flushed crimson with embarrassment. Theodore said angrily, "Miss, enough." Eureka replied, "Whether you believe us or not, I don't care. I wasn't aware your highness had such a strange penchant for watching couples' intimate moments, but we don't share such vulgar hobbies." With that, Eureka wrapped her arms around Johann, pressing herself against his chest. "So please leave. We'd like to enjoy this private time alone." Theodore's face turned livid with rage. He turned and got into his carriage, preparing to return to the royal palace. He fumed inwardly. "Damn it, I actually helped them. Just a slight touch." And he looked like he was about to go mad. "If they do more in private, Eureka Midas, when you come to the royal palace, I will immediately brand you with the royal seal, so you can never leave." As he was immersed in his plans, fueled by anger and possessiveness, something hit Theodore on the head. He spun around abruptly, shouting furiously, "What? Who dares?" The person continued to throw things at the prince. He looked down. The objects rolling at his feet were acorns. Theodore looked up to see who had thrown them, holding an acorn in his hand, ready to throw it back in retaliation. "Damn it, what the hell?" His frowning face froze. He recognized something. Acorns. It seemed he knew who threw them. The scene, she smiled triumphantly. Yes, I got my revenge. Johan's face was still flushed from the earlier incident, but he didn't forget to praise her. Well done. He deserved it, acting like that. She nodded firmly. Exactly. Eureka suddenly turned serious, looking at him hesitantly. I'm sorry about what happened earlier. Well, I had my reasons, but I'm sure it made you uncomfortable. Johan replied awkwardly. Not at all. How could I be uncomfortable because of something like that? She still felt bad. But even so, I touched your lips without your permission. He then replied, I consent. She let out a surprised huh. He continued, I consent to everything you do, Eureka. Oh, by the way, do you need me to write a formal statement for this? Johan Arald, hereby formally declare that I consent to all actions of Eureka Medes. Seeing his absurdly serious expression, Eureka was stunned, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Johan, she thought, he really shouldn't say things like that so casually. The scene changed to Lizzie standing alone in the garden, a calculating glint in her eyes. She thought, on the other side is Muriel's garden. I saw the prince heading in this direction just now. If I'm lucky, I might be able to eavesdrop on their conversation. She smiled slyly, muttering to herself, now I don't have to worry about being eavesdropped on. She could hear their voices. It turned out Lizzie was hiding behind the dense foliage, eavesdropping on Prince Raymond and Miss Muriel's conversation. She thought to herself, they even brought that genius doctor, Renard. This must be something very important. Suddenly, Renard spoke, Your Highness, the symptoms you mentioned earlier are all caused by Yara flowers. The prince asked in confusion, what are Yara flowers? Renard replied, yes, they're commonly used to make purple dye. They only bloom in the western desert, so they are very rare in the palace. However, you are severely allergic to them, and even a small amount mixed into the dye can cause confusion and disorientation. If you were to drink Yara flower tea, you might temporarily lose consciousness and become paralyzed. The prince replied, I understand. So when I'm outside, I must be especially careful of anything purple. Muriel stood beside him, her face full of worry. Prince Raymond instructed Renard, this matter is best kept secret. Can I trust you to keep it quiet? Renard replied, yes, of course, Your Highness. By now, Lizzie had heard their entire conversation. She trembled with excitement, thinking the prince's weakness. The high priest's greatest enemy is the prince, and now I have his weakness in my grasp. Perhaps with this, I can get rid of both the prince and Muriel, gain the recognition of the temple, and become the sole heir of the Medes family. Her face was filled with ambition and madness. The next morning, at the Duke's residence, Eureka was in the hallway when a blue-haired servant called out to her, Miss, you're here. Is something the matter? He said that Count Albert had come to visit her and was waiting in the living room. Uncle, Eureka was a little surprised. I'll be right there. Eureka suddenly thought Theodore had stopped by yesterday, and now another person had come. Eureka said softly with a remorseful look, I'm sorry, because I'm staying here. So many guests have come because of me. It must be troublesome, right? No. The blue-haired servant quickly denied it. He gave a bright smile. Please stay as long as you like. That way, this peace can last a little longer. The scene shifted to Jaden's residence. While fixing his hair, he worried about Duke Allard barging into the Medes manor unannounced. He had scolded him harshly for it, so didn't that mean he was also an uninvited guest? Amidst the turmoil, Eureka rushed towards him. As the door opened, her panicked appearance immediately came into view. Uncle, Jaden turned around at the sound. What are you doing here? Before she could finish, Jaden embraced Eureka. Eureka, are you all right? I was so worried about you. I also understand why you chose to run away. Her eyes lit up for a moment, but they dimmed again because of his next words. About you pushing Lizzie down and making her cry. I understand why you were so upset. Jaden then released Eureka and said frankly, if it were me, I would have done worse. Don't say that, Uncle. If you keep defending me like this, I'm going to become spoiled. He replied, I know better than anyone that you wouldn't do that kind of thing without reason. That's why I said that. Eureka seemed to understand her uncle's kindness, and a bright smile spread across her face. Thank you for saying that, Uncle. Shall we sit down and talk? The two then went into the room, and their conversation began. Jaden started, I wanted to talk to you privately for a while, but I haven't had the chance. Eureka felt there was some truth to his words. She recalled the time back at the Medes Manor when Lizzie clung to Jaden like crazy, leaving her with no chance to have a proper conversation with him. Back in the present, Jaden continued, ever since His Highness arrived, the manor has become quite noisy, so I snuck out. Speaking of which, if you feel uncomfortable returning to the Medes Manor, why don't you come with me to the Albert estate? Faced with this proposal, Eureka froze completely. Jaden told her to consider it a short vacation, staying at the manor for a while so she could feel more at ease. Speaking of which, Jaden became anxious. I can't be at peace with you staying in this wolf's den. If my brother-in-law saw this, he'd immediately challenge him to a duel. Eureka smiled faintly. What's wrong with Johann, uncle? You know how amazing Johann is. Even if I appeared suddenly, he welcomed and took care of me. Jaden hesitated. It's just, I don't like any man near my niece. Besides me and my brother-in-law, all men are wolves, and you've been living under the same roof with a wolf for days. I've cherished you since you were little. How dare he? Hearing this, Eureka felt more reassured, because even with Lizzie's arrival, Jaden still treated her as his niece. After a few seconds, Eureka smiled gently. Thank you for your concern, uncle. We're family. Of course I'm concerned. Eureka continued, Uncle, have you considered the possibility that Lizzie might be fake? This question immediately plunged the room into silence. After a few minutes, Jaden stammered, this matter. His expression completely changed. That baby outfit. Seeing Jaden's reaction, Eureka had her answer. I knew it. My sister knew I was a divine beast, so she could easily understand the situation immediately, but Uncle doesn't know. It's not the time to tell him yet. At this moment, Jaden clenched his fists again. He said, but if that child is really fake, I will find out where that baby outfit came from, and I will make that person pay. Jaden's eyes suddenly sharpened, enough to surprise Eureka. Her cheeks flushed. Thank you, Uncle. I'll tell you everything truthfully later. Jaden changed the subject, asking Eureka, so how long are you planning to stay here? Perhaps until Johann's victory celebration at the temple is over. Is that 3 days from now? All right, then let me ask you something. Even if you stay here, you don't need to bow down to that duke. I'll cover all your living expenses several times over if necessary. This lavish generosity made Eureka feel not interest, but disgust. She smiled faintly, appeasing Jaden. Don't worry, Uncle. I should be going home soon anyway. The scene changes. The blue-haired servant is with Johann, praising him for yesterday's events. It's a miracle the residence didn't collapse with your unstable energy. Even the hallway was shaking. I thought the whole building was going to explode. If His Highness had been injured, it would have been a disaster. Although mages aren't allowed to use magic against the royal family. What if the ceiling collapsed and injured him? Johann didn't seem to care much about the chattering fellow. He interrupted, why make such a fuss? Even without magic, I could still throw him out the window. Duke, you really are. After sighing, the blue-haired servant struggled to say, anyway, the repairs to the mansion are complete, and it's all thanks to Miss Eureka calming everything down, right? Johann was startled, an image of Eureka faintly appearing in his mind. Then he suddenly became shy, confusing the blue-haired servant. After the guest leaves, should I escort the young lady over? No, if I see her now, I won't be able to control myself. These words made the blue-haired servant even more suspicious. Seriously, what's going on? Johann instructed, tell Eureka to meet me at the tower tonight, and make sure no one comes near. That night, Eureka, in her divine beast form, skillfully climbed the branches, having overheard the conversation. You want me to go to the tower? I promised to help him calm down. I'm here. He must have called me for that. Luckily, I brought a lot of medicine. Anyway, my soothing effect is better in my divine beast form. After landing, Eureka suddenly noticed something. This is, he wants me to climb these stairs. What is that drawing? Johann, what have you prepared? Eureka climbed the stairs Johann had set up with suspicion. She was quite pleased. As expected, having stairs is much easier. I don't need to stretch so hard like before. Thinking that he had done so much for her convenience, she also had to do her best to help him calm down. Johann. Eureka quickly ascended each step until she reached the top of the tower. Johann immediately noticed the movement and gently walked to the window. Come in, Eureka. He lovingly stroked Eureka. You came in your squirrel form. Eureka couldn't speak human words, only making a few sounds, indicating she had to help Johann calm down. Afterward, she even waved her paws, urging Johann. Johann murmured, not a bad choice either. Not a bad choice. He glanced tenderly at Eureka and then rested his head beside her. Then, I'll leave it to you, Eureka. Then Eureka habitually touched Johann. The divine beast's ability was immediately activated. What is this? The energy is more unstable than I imagined. He must be in a lot of pain to have endured until now. But is the healing ability really working? When I treated him as a child, his expression immediately relaxed. But this time, it didn't seem to have much effect. Seeing Johann staring at her, Eureka became very curious. Why are you looking at me so intently? Because you're beautiful. Truly beautiful, Eureka, both in human and squirrel form. Why is everything about you so lovely? Eureka suddenly felt something was amiss. Shouldn't he be concentrating right now? The treatment wasn't over yet. Johann kissed her hand. You shouldn't be so cute in other ways, too. No, even if you just stand still, you're already beautiful, so you'd better not go anywhere. Eureka suddenly wondered what was going on today. Why was he being so shy? Thinking this, she looked down again. What's wrong? If I absorb more, will I turn back into a human? Eureka thought to herself, it would be troublesome if she turned back into a human at this time. Suddenly, Johann picked her up again. Well done, Eureka. He placed Eureka on the soft bed he usually lay on. This made her excitedly run around. It's been a while since I've been in this room. Eureka patted the mattress hard. Johann, lie down here and rest. It really feels like old times, doesn't it? He indulged Eureka and obediently laid down beside her. Eureka began to ponder. Based on today's situation, he really needs to rest. He'll need soothing every day for a while. I'll come back tomorrow in squirrel form. Johann unconsciously gazed at Eureka again. Eureka, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't give an ambitious mage any excuse, or he'll want more next time. You can't imagine how relieved I am when you need me. How happy I am to be eternally entangled with you, no matter what happens. So, whenever you need me, just say the word. I'll do anything for you, as long as you're by my side. Eureka. Saying this, Johann once again stroked her body with his calloused hands. Eureka murmured to herself, a strange feeling suddenly rising in her heart. What is this? The time, the place, the person, everything was the same as before, but something had changed. Yes, the atmosphere had changed. Lin had warned her many times that a mage's obsession with a divine beast was beyond imagination. Theodore became obsessed with her after just one soothing. So what about Johann, who has been soothed countless times? Is this why he acts like a lover, even when it's unnecessary? The reason he treats me so specially, secretly tempting me, just like a mage yearns for a divine beast, does he also yearn for me in that way? If that's the reason for his obsession with me, I should feel disgusted like I did with Theodore. But strangely, Eureka's heart still pounded fiercely for Johann. In her imagination, Eureka suddenly transformed into her human form in Johann's arms. She looked at Johann in surprise, but his gentle gaze remained unchanged. Eureka, whichever path you choose, don't hesitate. Use me to your heart's content, and then throw me away where I belong, right by your side. Her hands intertwined in confusion. I don't understand his feelings. I don't even understand my own feelings for him. Is this just the affection I've always had for him, or have I started to see him differently? But now, when I need to resolve everything with the temple, this kind of thinking is too extravagant. Eureka looked at Johann blankly. After everything is over, I'll keep my distance from him and think about it seriously. Her strange expression quickly aroused Johann's suspicion. What are you thinking about now? Eureka was still captivated by his scent. It won't be easy to leave this place, but first, everything needs to go according to plan. She didn't know if Raymond had taken care of everything properly. The scene shifted to the royal palace. At the council meeting, Raymond began to present his argument. I believe everyone here is aware of the temple's past distribution of divine beasts. At that time, Duke Allard's territory received one, bestowed upon Tyson Allard. Although the current Duke possesses a far superior magic power, it was his younger brother, who didn't even have the magic power to qualify, who was chosen. Because this concerns the Empire's hero, Duke Allard, I believe we should investigate whether there was a problem with the distribution of the divine beast. The meeting quickly became heated with various opinions. But that was a long time ago. They don't sell divine beasts anymore, do they? That's right, and there are more pressing national matters. Let's return to the capital reconstruction plan we discussed last time. Behind that sullen face, Raymond's plan was hidden. As expected, because the matter had been resolved years ago, they were trying to brush it off. but that's all right. As long as the mention of the divine beast reaches the high priest's ears, that's the most important thing. On the day of the temple restoration ceremony, Johann arrived early, anticipating this moment. Suddenly, Johann heard someone call him Duke Allard from behind. It was Prince Raymond. He said it was their first meeting since the victory celebration. I heard the news. My sister-in-law stayed at your place for a while, right? Sister-in-law? I mean Miss Eureka. Perhaps because she saved his sister, she became the prince's sister-in-law. He smiled gently. My fiancée, Muriel, has been very worried about her. Johann then realized that this was a conversation between brothers-in-law, so he felt a little embarrassed. Raymond continued, So, how has my sister-in-law been doing lately? Eureka! Just as he was about to answer, Johann saw Theodore in the distance. Their eyes met like rivals. Please rest assured, Your Highness. Eureka is very comfortable and happy. She's having a wonderful time in Allard. What he just said made Theodore incredibly jealous. That's good. If there's anything regarding her that you need help with, feel free to contact me. Raymond was feeling very eager, because if everything went well today, he would be able to marry Muriel soon. At that moment, Patre approached him. Your Highness, it's been a while. High Priest Patre, it's good to see you in good health. This year's ceremony is similar to previous years, so I've come to guide you. Usually, the royal family leads the procession, but since this is a restoration ceremony, I think it would be best for Duke Allard and Raymond to walk at the front. Raymond agreed with this suggestion and let Allard go first. As soon as they left, Patre revealed a cunning smile. The scene shifted to Daisy Village, a small village located on the outskirts of the capital, situated on the road from the royal palace to the temple. Patients suffering from red spot disease resided here. Red spot disease causes spots to appear on the skin and makes movement difficult. Furthermore, it spreads easily among malnourished people, so patients must live in isolation and receive care from volunteer medical staff. Before arriving at the temple, members of the royal family often stopped by the village to encourage the patients and offer assistance. Meanwhile, the royal army also arrived at this location. However, Johann said he would wait here, leaving the others puzzled. He explained that because this was a royal ceremony, and he wasn't a member of the royal family, he would stay with the guards and ensure the safety of the route. Johann added, this is a traditional event, usually only attended by the royal family and priests, so it wouldn't be appropriate for me to participate. Raymond agreed with Johann's explanation. I understand. We'll see you later then. Johann immediately took action, commanding, all right, everyone to your designated positions. Yes, sir. At that moment, he noticed many eyes staring at him. 3 young boys and girls appeared from the nearby bushes. They whispered to each other, is that the war hero? Seems like it. I heard he's a jerk, but he's a super strong mage. He's more handsome than I thought. I imagined he'd look like a thug. These words reached Johann's ears, and he couldn't do anything but smile awkwardly. Then, the children became curious about Johann's strangely bulging pocket. Hey, are those his pecs? Johann couldn't hide his embarrassment, making the children even more curious. It's not even hot yet. Why is his face suddenly red? In fact, Eureka was in the pocket and heard everything the children said. She immediately reacted, pecs. What are these kids talking about? Johann immediately asked Eureka, are you all right? Are you having trouble breathing? Everyone could see Eureka, so she needed to adjust her position slightly. But the constant squirming made Johann even more embarrassed. It might be a little uncomfortable, but please bear with it a little longer. It won't be much longer. After today, the temple matter will be settled. Half an hour later, Raymond finished visiting the patients and left the room. He said to Patre, it seems there's only one building left to check over there. Yes, let's go, Your Highness. Since this is the last stop, I will accompany you personally. Then, Raymond let Patre follow behind, not noticing that his expression had changed. Raymond, he mentioned the divine beast at the council meeting. He's always been looking for ways to weaken the temple's power, and now he's interested in this. This time it was overlooked, but if Raymond starts investigating again and discovers the curse of Mead's Day, the temple is finished. Patre had to stop this before it was too late. They had reached the last room. After the door opened, the female patient was very surprised that Raymond had come personally. It's all right. Just lie down and rest comfortably. After the examination, Raymond said, perhaps the sheets should be changed. Patre followed absent-mindedly, seemingly looking for an opportunity. The female patient picked up the bag of cookies next to her pillow and whispered, thank you for your kindness. Your Highness, this is a small token of my gratitude. Please accept it. These are cookies I baked myself while I was recovering. Raymond happily accepted the bag of cookies. Thank you. I was just feeling a bit hungry. Unbeknownst to him, Patre was watching from behind with a terrifying gaze. According to Lizzie, Yara flowers are Raymond's greatest weakness. A terrible plot was slowly coming to light. Patre had put a large amount of Yara flower petals in the cookies. If that information was true, the poison would take effect immediately. Raymond slowly put a cookie in his mouth and savored the taste. Afterward, he complimented the female patient. "These cookies are delicious. Thank you very much." Before she could finish her sentence, Raymond's body began to show strange symptoms. A feeling of death began to spread throughout his body. It seemed the poison had already seeped in. Raymond collapsed on the ground, and a sinister smile began to surface. Patre laughed like a madman. "I can't believe it was this easy. High Priest, ah." He took off his mask and pulled out a steel knife. "As long as I prove my innocence, you'll give me the promised reward, right?" "Of course, don't worry. But once the others discover Raymond's body, this dagger will be the one you hid, and because you gave him the cookies, you'll be accused of murdering Raymond." To make the plan perfect, Patre had also hidden another knife under the female patient's pillow. "I've had enough. Please return to the embrace of God, Raymond." Patre raised his knife high, ready to deliver the final blow. Unfortunately, in an instant, he was surrounded by attendants. A confused look appeared on his face. What is the meaning of this?" Raymond grabbed his weapon-wielding hand. "High Priest Patre, you are under arrest for plotting to assassinate a member of the royal family."